Hello and welcome to the show. This is episode 17 of the Life of Gaming podcast. My name is Jamie and I am your captain on this cruise of video game awesomeness. And you all know my co-host, the bear it to my cloud, Mr. Josh Brandt.
That's my gun arm there.
There you go. I got that. Yeah, that sounded pretty good, right? That came out pretty smooth.
Yeah. It rolled off the tongue very well.
Right,
man,
right.
I'm pumped for the All-Star game, man. Cincinnati.
There you go.
Represent.
So are you just
Home
gonna be...
base.
So what else is going on in your life, sir? What's new since last week? Anything exciting?
Not much, really. I'm going to try to make it down. I don't have tickets to the All-Star game, but I'd like to just make it out for the festivities and see what's going on there.
Good time. Sounds exciting.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man. Nothing too new here. Just a lot of housework. I've got a golf outing I have to go to on Monday for work, and so getting ready for that.
Oh, that sounds terrible, a golf outing.
I know. I get to play golf all day long. Although it's supposed to rain all day Monday, so... Yeah, that's gonna be stupid.
Yeah,
if it rains all day,
while you're golfing,
we'll see. So it's either gonna be extremely hot or it's gonna be raining. So that should be a good time.
Take the lather.
That's right. Well, welcome to the show, guys, and the Life of Gaming podcast. We're in the middle of our summer game series right now, and this week we're going to be talking about Final Fantasy. So hopefully, you guys look forward to that. And our guest this week is Rey Osorio from Nerd Overdrive podcast. Ray, how you doing today, sir?
I'm doing good, guys. I'm doing good. How are you guys?
Doing great, man.
Fantastic.
Well, thanks for coming on the show, man. Glad to have you here.
All right. Well, thank you very much for you guys having me. I definitely appreciate it. I'm definitely a fan of the podcast and everything of Life of Gaming, so I was excited at the opportunity to be here.
Awesome. Well, we're glad to have you, man. Well, before we get into the whole podcast, things like that, let our listeners know a little bit about yourself, family, job, things like that.
Okay. So right now I'm a stay-at-home dad to 3 girls. I am the captain of Phoenix Overdrive, which is our overall Extra Life team.
Okay.
And then also the author of Rise Above Radio blog, which ties into the Phoenix Overdrive channel we also have on YouTube, and the Nerd Overdrive podcast. I'm a co-host there.
Awesome. So with the Nerd Overdrive podcast, I mean, is it kind of like this one where we have, a topic of the week, or is it more news related? Tell us a little bit about the podcast.
Okay, so a little bit of what we do is we do talk about the gaming, culture overall, more in line of where we look at what's going on in the news, things like that, and then new releases, we cover those. We do have a topic of the week, we call it our Nerd Talk, and then we recognize members of our community with our Phoenix Overdrive Nation Stars, or as we call them, the Pawn Stars. So we try to bring the community involvement in, highlight the positivity, as that's what we're about. Just kind of showing that gaming can be positive,
sure,
not just the negative stereotypes or
right.
The way the media and society kind of portrays us. So
that's the internet for you.
Definitely.
It's funny how that's changing, though. Like, it's just like bleeding into society now. Like, we used to be this small culture of what gaming is now, and it's just blown up everywhere.
No, absolutely. I mean, things have definitely changed. It's kind of become more like movies now, where it's become more, I guess, more acceptable, I guess you could say.
Exactly. Everybody games.
Yeah, it has definitely. Yeah, definitely, it's become more mainstream. And the funny thing about gaming is whether it's your Facebook games that people do with all the invites and requests,
right,
or if it's something small, a mobile game like on your phone or your tablet, people are gaming and they just don't realize that they're gaming. They're like, oh, I'm just killing some time. But
right.
That's a form of gaming. So
absolutely.
Definitely good to see.
I mean, everyone, if you find that one game that you can play, because like my wife, she doesn't game, but when I introduced her to The Sims, like she was like hooked, and
24 hours a day.
Right, exactly. So I mean, I think everybody would be a gamer if they just found the right genre, that right game, they would be sucked in.
Yeah, definitely. It's a matter of taste and, what your interests are, because, not everyone's going to play the same games, even though, you guys have similar taste with the AAA stuff and, the different, games and, like our topic today, Final Fantasy, definitely excited to talk about the RPGs and the way they've grown and changed.
Absolutely. I mean, people say Final Fantasy is more, casual, I would think, more like a cell phone game, right?
They have made a few cell phone
They
games.
actually have, haven't they? I totally forgot about. They have made a few cell phone games.
Yep.
That's right. I mean, some of those are just kind of ports of the older games, though, right?
Right.
Yeah, a lot of the iOS and Android releases, have been more of like the remakes and things like that. So, but they do have some of the things like they were talking about with bringing other games and other experiences to mobile, and now they have like MMOs in Japan and stuff like that on mobile, which is insane.
Wow, everybody seems to be getting into mobile now, and like Nintendo's going to get into mobile soon too. So I mean, it's kind of the hot place to be.
It's where the money's at, because everybody has a mobile device.
That's very true. Everyone's got. I mean, well, except for my wife, everybody I know has a smartphone.
And my dad, he's still using like a old school dial.
Yeah, see, my wife's the same way. She likes the old school flip phone. I mean, she does have a tablet though. I mean, she's got a tablet. But when it comes to phones, all she wants to do is like make calls and text. She doesn't want to do anything else. Plus, she's very clumsy, so she breaks her phone a lot.
How nice of you.
The last phone she had.
I know what you're saying.
I think I'm trying to remember, she had it on her shoulder when she was talking, and she like dropped it into a bowl of cereal, or I forget what. It was something like she kills her phones a lot. But, okay, guys, with that, let's hop into our news section, and what we like to call Captain's Log. Okay, guys, real quick, let's hop into our PlayStation news. One of the big showings at E3 that got people really hyped, got me excited, was Horizon Zero Dawn. That was a game that had a lot of people talking. And, people want some more information on that. And so, Guerrilla Games came out, because someone asked, will this be online? Will it have multiplayer, things like that? And they said that Zero Dawn will be mainly single-player focused, but it will feature an online component. So so that sounds like it's not full-on online co-op. Maybe it would be something kind of like, Dark Souls or something like that, where, we can interact with each other, but it's not direct. But they also said that they're going to have 3 classes in the game. They're just going to have your basic stealth class, more of a firepower class, and then a class for setting traps, like a hunter sniper kind of class. So, just getting some more information on that is pretty cool. And Brant, what do you think they mean by, it will have an online component? What do you think that's going to feature?
Dude, I liked your idea where you mentioned like the Dark Souls sort of thing. Like call in people that you need, like to take down this, huge gargantuan boss or something. I didn't think about that. That would be pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Like, not like in a multiplayer game you think of like having like a squad of people that you got with, but whenever you want, you can just like maybe invade other people's games to, grab the scraps or resources you need from somebody else, or, you do the co-op thing where you can tackle like this huge beast together.
Sure. That would actually be pretty cool. But Ray, what about you, man? Do you have any idea on what they might do with their online component for Horizon?
Something I'd like to see with Horizon would be something like maybe like a clan or like a tribe-based kind of online component.
Okay.
Where maybe you and your friends, like people that are playing the game, help you gather resources, or help you, like if you have a hunter, they can help set traps in areas and things like that. And you come to an area that they've explored, those traps may help you take down whatever you're hunting or something like that. Or maybe something along the lines of, maybe like the Destiny kind of thing where you have like the public event, like kind of you guys are going.
Sure.
But have something to where if you're in the same area, it's online connected world, like if you and your friend happen to be in the same area, you may run into something, or you may be hunting the same animal, something like that. The clan or the tribe thing may be kind of akin to the Last of Us multiplayer with the factions, something like that possibly.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Where they, something like that. That would be like the closest thing that I can think of that would be relative to what I was thinking.
Okay. And it was something like that with the online multiplayer, though. Do you think it might be something more like Journey, where someone could just randomly come into your world, like you said, someone's setting traps, and like you can't talk to each other because you don't know who it is? Do you think it might be something like that? That might be kind of cool.
That would be kind of cool, too, where it's something where it does have that online component, but it's not like directly like you're communicating directly like over like voice chat or in-game chat or something like that. You guys maybe you can emote or wave at each other or something like that, kind of like the chirp in Journey.
Yeah.
But That would be cool.
Yeah,
those are all ideas.
Yeah,
we never know what's going to come.
Absolutely. I mean, with something like that, I haven't really thought about that in a while. I mean, Journey was an awesome game, and it just had that uniqueness of you had multiplayer, but you never directly connected with that person, yet you still felt connected because you were on this journey together. So maybe they could do something like that in Horizon. You never know. That would be awesome. I mean,
and I hope they really put a lot of resources into the single player.
Yeah.
Because whenever a company says they want to do multiplayer, that sort of scares me that maybe they're putting too much focus into that.
Sure.
Because I'm mainly a single player gamer, so hopefully they nail down that aspect first.
Yeah, and like I told you before, Brant, and I said in our E3 reaction videos for PlayStation, there hasn't been a game on PlayStation 4 yet that makes me go, wow, I have to own a PS4. And then I saw the Horizon Zero Dawn trailer. I was like, oh my gosh, this is the game.
Yeah.
I'm like, wow. So, I mean, you never know.
Was blown.
I'm actually
was
pretty excited for this one to come out.
No doubt.
You're not super excited for the death of Bloodborne?
Right.
There's Amy? No Bloodborne for you?
No.
Death?
See, I mean, Brant and I were talking before how I've never played Dark Souls game, never played Demon Souls. I mean, so I don't know. I mean, I enjoy challenge. I do enjoy challenging games, but I've just never played that kind of game before.
Yeah, see, Ray, I tried to convince James to come to the light side and buy one for Bloodborne, but it's a hopeless cause.
Right. He gets mad that I'm enjoying my Xbox. I have a lot. I mean, in this generation right now, the Xbox is the console that has the most games on it that I want to play.
But there you go.
That's a debate for another day, right, Brant?
Right.
We can have a whole 4-hour podcast on that. But also, oh, sorry, what were you going to say?
I was going to say next time, Brant, if you need some help, if you need to tag team, I'll be glad to help you. Maybe we can convince him to come to the right side.
See, this happens
I need all
every
the help I
episode,
can
man.
get.
Every episode, all the guests are like, "Why'd you get Xbox?" All PlayStation. But actually, speaking of so many people having PlayStation, Ubisoft just announced that PS4 users, they just announced their sales, and they said PS4 users more than doubled the sales of any of the competition. So if you took the Xbox 360 and PS3 and Xbox One and put them all together, double that would be what they're selling on PlayStation 4 for games right now, which actually doesn't really surprise me much because PlayStation 4 is so far in the lead right now.
Right.
I mean, as of right now, I really don't see anything slowing them down because they sold like crazy at the beginning. And like I'd mentioned before, there was nothing on that game that spoke to me saying, man, I have to have a PlayStation because all the big games on it were multi-platform. But now they've got games like Horizon coming out and all these really big exclusives that I think is just going to keep on going.
Yeah, but they're not going to be coming out for a while.
True.
Which Xbox has a plan, hey, we're bringing these games this year, and we have all these other games that are going to come out next year. So I think overall Xbox has the better plan, but the games that I'm most excited about are on the PlayStation ecosystem. So
sure. And actually, Ray, just to ask you real quick, because I didn't ask before the show, what systems do you currently have?
I currently have PS4, Xbox 360, and I play PC.
Okay.
Primarily, and 3DS and Vita, that kind of thing,
Sure.
but I primarily play on PS4.
No Wii U then, huh?
No Wii U. I actually...
You are part of the problem, sir.
With Smash Brothers and Mario Kart, things like that. Like, I want to own those games.
Sure.
But now that there's the looming NX thing coming, it's just like, I don't know if I want to jump.
Do you think the NX is going to have
see.
any backwards compatibility to play those Wii U games?
Given the Nintendo's their track record with the last two systems with the backwards compatibility with Wii and Wii U, I would say they'd be crazy not to continue that trend and go with Wii U, at least Wii U backwards compatibility.
Sure. I mean, the only problem I really can see with that is the tablet controller itself, because they're going to have to start selling that separately. And when they originally launched the Wii U, they said that controller would be over $100 if they sold it separately. So I don't know how easy it'll be to have backwards compatible games on the Wii U. So we'll see.
Yeah, the crazy thing about that whole thing with Nintendo and everything, it's just going to be a matter of, how the games translate, or as they've shown, heck, you guys are still using Wiimotes and GameCube controllers for peripherals on the Wii U, which was from 2 generations before. So if they continue that trend, you're probably going to be able to use the tablet, the gamepad. So
that's very true. I mean, it's so funny. Like, you want to play Smash Brothers? Oh, you can use the Wii remote. You can use the nunchuck. You can use the gamepad. You can use the Pro controller. You can use the classic controller. You can use there's just 8 different controllers you could use. It was crazy. So whatever you use, you can use on the Wii U.
Pretty much anything that you've had, you can use on the Wii U in one way, shape, or form.
That's right. Although there's not much. I mean, I love my Wii U, but it's just not that much to play on, especially now that the NX is looming. I mean, Splatoon came out, and I know like Xenoblades, toward the end of the year, and like that's it. I mean, Yoshi's Woolly World's coming, I think, in October, but I mean, it's so barren that all my time's going to my Xbox right now.
Yeah, it's a dying system, and you can tell.
I thought it was crazy that I think IGN did a review for Woolly World already. I think if I saw that correctly.
Yep,
I didn't see that.
Wait, that game's not out for like at least another like 3-4 months. Like, what's going on?
It actually released everywhere else in the world. It's just not coming to America until it's not coming to America until October, which is kind of weird. Because I guess their IGN UK team reviewed it, but and that's what I'm actually kind of looking forward to, because Yoshi games are very hit or miss because they've got a problem. They're either really, really good and like they've thrown some difficult stages, like, the classic Yoshi's Island game, or they go way too easy, like, Yoshi Story and like all those kind of games. Like the most recent new Yoshi's Island on 3DS, it was a good game, but the difficulty didn't ramp up until like the last 2 worlds. The rest of the game was just like, snooze through, play through, no problem. So they said it's a little more difficult this time, so I've got high hopes again, so we'll see what happens with that one.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to see.
You never know.
The only thing I could say is the Woolly Yoshi amiibo is totally adorable. It's like, holy crap, I want that thing.
And, oh my gosh.
The one amiibo I want.
Hey, Brant, amiibo comes up every show because Brant loves it. All the amiibo news just gravitates toward him.
I just have him sitting on my lap right now.
Right. Well, to get us back on track, let's hop into our Xbox news real quick. Comic-Con's going on right now, and there's a bunch of announcements happening. And one thing that was announced, I don't know if it was at Comic-Con or just around it, the Xbox One is going to come up with a bundle with the launch of the Gears of War remaster. And it's going to cost the same price as the Xbox now. It's going to be a 500 gig for $350, and they're just going to throw in Gears of War remaster with that. So I'm actually for people that don't have a system that love Gears of War, that might be one to check out. It's just another option. This time you get a free game. So it's not a full, Gears of War remaster is only a $40 game. So it's not, that expensive, but a free game's a free game, right?
Hey, you can't beat free.
That's right.
Yeah, like I said, I think every system now has a free game for it.
Pretty much,
that's just the protocol now.
The only people that really, I would say the only people that really get screwed over are the ones that buy at launch, because you're buying full price, but at the same time, you get to experience that system for like a whole year and a half before anybody else. So, that's your game right there. That's your pack-in game. The year worth of memories.
Freezing and crashes.
Yeah, that's true. The thing I was going to say, at least Xbox-wise, if you look at like the Xbox 360 launch to where it ended, and even now the Xbox One, it's changed quite a bit. They're getting away from Kinect. They're actually going to launch an entire new user interface on the Xbox One to sort of go along with Windows 10. And actually, as part of that, Xbox is actually renaming a few things. Xbox Music, they're actually going to change to, is it going to be called Groove? And then Xbox Video is now just going to be called Movies and TV. And I guess they kind of did that so when they bring, like, almost like the Windows 10 interface over to Xbox One, everything will just sort of, mesh together really well. So they're getting things ready. Because an update actually came out on the Xbox One recently. I think it was yesterday, And they said it's just doing some back-end stuff to get it ready for backwards compatibility, to get it ready for the new user interface. Because they showed the new user interface off at E3. I don't know if you guys saw that or not, but it's much better. It's much faster. So I'm actually pretty excited for that.
Yeah, and that's one area where Xbox really trumps Sony is on their PSN. I don't care for it that much. They don't ever update it.
Oh, the user interface.
It just seems like it's a step. It just seems like it's a step behind Xbox. and they keep innovating in new ways, which Sony has stayed the same for a while now.
Yeah, I mean, they're more the mentality, if it's not broke, don't fix it.
Yeah, definitely.
But it is broke.
Well, to a point, yes, it is.
That's the problem. Yeah.
Hey, see, I not having a PlayStation 4 this generation, I mean, Ray, would you agree with Brant? I mean, is the PlayStation interface, is it pretty bad?
It's not bad. I mean, it's very it's simplistic. It's very, bare bones kind of is the way that I would describe it. It's clean cut. It's kind of simple, looking at the UI that Xbox, the Xbox One had from launch, and then the variations and the changes, and then now what they showed at E3, which is basically just an update on the Metro UI that we saw in Windows 8 going to Windows 10 and the integration and everything. That's definitely a more sophisticated interface, the Xbox One has versus the PS4 and, PSN, that kind of thing.
Okay, yeah, I mean, with the Xbox stuff, I mean, it all started with the Kinect, and I think, in a way, they kind of forced their hand, getting rid of the Kinect out of the box. It sort of forced Microsoft in a way to probably make a few more leaps and bounds than they originally wanted to with the interface, but honestly, I disconnected my Kinect a while ago, and I just use the shortcuts on the controller, so I'm fine. So, whatever they do to make it easier and snappier, I'm totally fine with that. But, Brant, when you did have your 360... one game that I know you and I love to play was Castle Crashers. Castle Crashers is such a good game. And actually, they're bringing an HD version out. I don't know if you saw that or not. They're remastering Castle Crashers. It's coming back. But the Behemoth, their new game, I don't know if you guys saw it or not. It was called Game 4. That's what they've been calling it since they announced it.
Bad.
They actually announced the new name for it. It's going to be called Pit People. And as of right now, I think it is an Xbox console exclusive. I think it's also going to be on PC, because most things now when they're quote-unquote exclusive, they're also on PC.
Exactly.
But and while the name sounds simplistic, they actually wrote in their blog, why they named it that. I'm just going to read this real quick off their blog here. It says, "The pit is the place where our stories heroes get a fresh start in life. It's basically what you and I know more commonly as an arena. As you may remember from our announcement trailer, the story starts off right as the giant bear from space shatters the planet." So, I mean, the trailer for the game was crazy, because it showed this giant space bear, crashing into Earth. It was very bizarre.
Sounds epic.
So, I mean, it's all about these people from this pit, or it's actually, an arena, but they call it the pit. And it's actually going to star, the characters' names are Horatio, Pipistrella, Yosef, Sophia,
Horatio
and
Kane.
Gluten. So, I mean, it actually looks like a pretty interesting game. I'm actually pretty excited. It's more of I think it's more of a turn-based RPG, kind of, isn't it?
Yeah, it looks like the spherical strategy elements where you move the players along this
move by
predetermined
squares.
path.
Yeah,
move by squares. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
it looks sort of like that, which I like those type of games. So I wish I could play that. Maybe down the road. It'll be like Castle Crashers. It'll come out a year or two later.
Yeah, because Castle Crashers, it wasn't exclusive, and then it came to PlayStation. And Alien Hominid, it wasn't exclusive, and then it came to GameCube and I think PlayStation. It came pretty much everywhere. I'm trying to think what else there was. Battle Block Theater. I don't think Battle Block Theater ever came to anything else but Xbox. I don't think.
Yeah,
it's on PC.
No, it didn't come to anything.
It's on. It's on Steam. Yeah.
What? Console exclusive. It is quote unquote exclusive then.
Yeah.
So console exclusive. But Ray, do you have any interest in Pit People at all?
Yes, I love turn-based strategy games. Especially if I prefer technically the grid-based strategy games. Okay. I was big into StarCraft and the other RTS kind of games, but Fire Emblem now holds my love for strategy games and things like that. Definitely
Fire Emblem's so good.
Yes, it is. I love it. I can't wait for all the new Fire Emblem coming out. But yeah, no, definitely. If it ever comes to PS4 or PC and I can run it, which I should probably have no problem running it because it's not going to be a graphical powerhouse or anything. I'm definitely interested in playing and check it out.
Yeah. Well, see, talking about, even if a game doesn't need a major PC to play it, I know my PC won't play it. I know Brant's PC won't play it.
We're gonna have some talks with you guys on some of maybe bring you into the tech garage with my technical coordinator Lee Navarro, and maybe we can do some tech overdrive for you guys, get you guys going on some PC Master Race.
Oh,
Right. I mean, like with my
we need
PC,
some lessons.
My PC so old, pretty much has a crank on the front to make it run.
You got a hamster on a wheel?
I thought we turned on the computer by pushing the monitor on button.
Right.
No, I'm just kidding about that. That's what my dad thought.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he tried to turn on the computer
hilarious.
once by the monitor, which is
And you
hilarious.
couldn't figure out why it wouldn't turn on, huh?
Yeah, he's like, why won't this thing work? I need to get on my fantasy football team. I'm like, Dad, you need to use the actual PC.
Oh, that's hilarious, dude. Oh, man. But yeah, someday my plan is to upgrade the PC because this thing is so old. I mean, when you turn it on, it sounds like a rocket taking off. It's like, brrr, like it's so loud. It's so old. I mean, it handles the podcast, so I guess that's enough for now, right? Oh,
Right.
well.
Hey, it does what it needs to do, right?
That's right. That's right. Well, one quick story that kind of bridges the Xbox and PlayStation news. A while back, rumors started going around that they were going to remaster the prototype games and bring them to Xbox One and PS4. Well, recently, a screenshot was seen online of the Xbox One store, the Marketplace store, and it showed Prototype 2 coming out July 14th, which is Tuesday. So, I mean, that's really soon. And actually, recently, another website leaked the trophies for a remastered Prototype 2 for PS4. So, it's all pointing to it's probably coming out. But if they're releasing it next week and nobody knew about it, that's probably a bad sign. But, I mean, I've never played the Prototype games.
It was a free PS Plus game, I think, for the PS3.
Okay.
Maybe 2 months ago or something,
Oh,
but
okay.
of course I didn't play it at all.
Sure. Yeah.
I just didn't care.
'Cause, I mean, when it came, all I remember is when Prototype came out, is right when Infamous was coming out. And I got into Infamous. I mean, I loved Infamous. I platinumed every single Infamous game, well, except for Second Son, because I never got a PS4. But, like, I loved Infamous, so I never got around to playing Prototype, but people always kind of compared them. So I don't know if it was a good game or not. So I don't know if it'd even be worth checking out a remaster.
No, it was actually a very, very good game. It was well put together. The story was kind of meh, but other than that, the gameplay was pretty solid, and it was a good time, kind of like Infamous was. It just really did. It really did a lot of the same things that Infamous was doing. It's just that Sucker Punch did them better, and
Sure.
it just got basically put by the wayside because the marketing behind Infamous was a juggernaut versus. Prototype. And, actually, I think Prototype's on sale right now, or it was on sale on the PSN for PS3. Usually that's what happens. Usually you'll see a game that'll come, it'll be on sale, and then they'll give it away for free, like on PlayStation Plus or something. And it's just like, oh, I just bought that, and it gave it away for free.
That's their plan. I never picked up on that.
That's what always happens. But I guess my question to you, Ray, then, since you played it, now that I've got an Xbox and I don't have my PlayStation anymore, I can't get the Infamous love anymore, would Prototype kind of fill that void, or would I play it and just completely regret not being able to play Infamous?
You would probably regret not being able to play Infamous just because.
Oh, okay.
Honestly, my thought is going to be, unless the port is handled very well and they do it, they do a very good job at up-resing and changing things and things like that, you may just want to get a PS4 and go Infamous Second Son and get the fill that way.
Got it. Sure. Well, that's a little disappointing, but I guess that makes sense. Just because Infamous is, like I said, I platinumed all the games. That's a great series. It's kind of hard to replicate, right? And kind of, make it the same. But we'll hop over to our Nintendo news real quick, and we'll kind of kick this off. Brant, this was actually a story that you had written about. ZombiU. Let us know about that.
Well, there's a rumor. It actually came by a news outlet in Taiwan.
Yeah.
It came under a Twitter handle. I forget what the guy's name was, but there was a picture and it had zombie, just zombie, but you saw the the artwork from ZombiU.
Okay.
And it actually said there was ratings given out for the PS4 and Xbox One versions.
Uh-huh.
So and by a reliable news source, it looks like this is a real deal. So it's going to be interesting to see because that game did not sell well.
No,
and it's an interesting choice to bring over to the other games because you had to use the WiiU gamepad, I
exactly.
believe,
yeah, I was wondering
to really take advantage of that. So I'm wondering if it's sort of like a smart glass sort of use for it. Maybe use the Vita or like a tablet for the Xbox One. I don't really know how they're going to do it.
Yeah, I'm wondering the same thing because I'm like, that game was so heavily based on the gamepad. I'm like, I really don't know what they're going to do. Because like I said, maybe they will use the Vita. Maybe they will use Smart Glass. But the great thing about the Wii U gamepad, I mean, there's no delay. I mean, it was part of the system. So, as you're looking down, picking your items and everything, it was super smooth, no problems. Ray, I mean, since you don't have a Wii U and you never got to play ZombiU, would you have any interest in playing this if it came to your PS4?
Possibly, because I heard, really good things about ZombiU, with that game, I definitely would be interested in playing it, checking it out, because I did hear good things from ZombiU.
Yeah.
So we'll definitely have to maybe take a look, maybe see how it does, or see if it's a faithful or a good port. Sure. Because as we're seeing with these remasters, they're kind of hit and miss, sometimes depending. So we'll definitely have to see.
Sure. And that's one where, like I said, I had it on Wii U, I played it, I enjoyed it, but unless it's like super cheap, like, some of these remasters are putting out for $40, $30, whatever. If it was cheap, I might check it out. Otherwise, I just don't think it's good enough to go back to, especially without having the hook of the gamepad and, changing your items and things like that. I mean, it just works so well. Because what they're probably going to do is you'll play the game like normal. You probably like to hold down a trigger, and while you hold down the trigger, your backpack options will kind of like pop down right at the bottom of the screen. Maybe it'll probably be something lame like that. So it just wouldn't have the same suspense. Because what made it so suspenseful before is that you were looking at a different screen. When you were looking at a different screen, you weren't looking at the TV, so you couldn't see when monsters were, creeping up on you and zombies were creeping up on you. So it really added to that tension. So I don't know. We'll see.
The game intrigued me because of the permadeath sort of thing that was going on with, like, you had to make it back to your point to get all the stuff that you dropped.
Yeah. I mean, that was actually a really awesome thing about that game. If you died, you became a new character, and you had to go and kill that zombie that you were. Kill that zombie, get all the stuff back. But if you died before you got there, you lost everything.
Oh, okay.
So I mean, it was pretty cool. I mean, it was a pretty good game. But the other thing that rumor came out today, which actually turned out to be true, last E3, not this most recent E3, but E3 in 2014, Nintendo announced that they were going to bring the game Devil's Third to the Wii U. It was going to be a new exclusive. It was actually getting made on PS3 and Xbox 360. People were super excited about it because I believe it was, I want to say the guy that made, Ninja Gaiden, I think. I can't remember. Trying to remember who it was, but I mean,
a big name guy.
Yeah, exactly. And they recently came out, and it wasn't at E3, this year's E3. People were like, what happened to this game? Well, Nintendo of Europe and Japan, they're going to release it, but Nintendo of America is not going to release it in America. So, and a lot of people that have seen the game said it's not looking so good. It's not controlling well. Graphically, it looks pretty bad. And so people are saying maybe that's why they don't want to bring it to America. Because it just won't sell, especially on something like the Wii U that, console-wise, the audience isn't that big, and the audience for this specific kind of game is going to be so small. But, I mean, it could still come to America if another company wants to bring it. Kind of like what happened with Xenoblade Chronicles, the original Xenoblade Chronicles. Nintendo didn't bring it to America, but Xseed, the company Xseed, brought it to America. So, I mean, that's always a possibility. It could still come out. But that's one that really wasn't much on my radar. So I just thought it was interesting that, they're actually not bringing it to America. Although the Wii U really needs software. We were just talking about that earlier. So why don't they bring it?
Yeah, it goes to show that they don't really support the platform.
Right.
It may cost more money than what it's worth to bring it out. And the person you were thinking about was Tonobu Itagaki, who did Dead or Alive and Ninja Gaiden, so you were right on the Ninja Gaiden money there. Awesome. But yeah, he I mean, it looked okay. It looked kind of in the same vein. I'm trying to think of what that game was. There was Mad World, and then there was the successor to Mad World. I can't think of the name of it. It's slipping my mind right now. That did come to PS3.
Okay.
And then, so it looks
No More
maybe
Heroes?
that same vein. No More Heroes is in that same vein. I just can't think of that game. I can't think of the name of it. I
It's
can
not
think of the
Lollipop
gameplay.
Chainsaw, is it?
Not Lollipop Chainsaw.
Is it the light gun shooter, the one that you use the Move or the Wii remote to
No,
shoot.
no, you're thinking of House of the Dead Overkill.
Yeah, but I mean that's still a violent game.
Well, true.
Yeah.
That game was awesome, by the way.
Yeah, it was in the same. It was in
fun.
the same vein of that. I'm just trying to think of what was the successor of
Mad World.
Oh man.
Because I thought Mad World
Mad World on the Wii. It was Mad World on the Wii. Anarchy Reigns is what it is.
Oh, okay.
So
Gotcha.
I feel like the art style and the way that it looks is kind of like in that same vein, possibly.
Uh-huh.
But those games don't traditionally do well with the American audience, especially on Wii U. Like if it was coming to PS4 and Xbox One, I would say, hey, go for it. Let's see what it does, because those games sell well on those kind of consoles. But on Wii U, where the user base is already kind of like, hey, this is my Nintendo machine.
It's like 10 million, yeah. So I think it's hit 10 million. I think it's like maybe 10 or 11 million.
Roughly 10 million. The Vita so far has sold about 12 million. So the Vita's actually sold more than the Wii U from last numbers.
They did say the Wii U passed the Dreamcast in sales though, so it's not going to be. I mean, it's still a failure, but it's not a Dreamcast failure.
Not the Dreamcast failure. Yeah. And that amazes me that the Vita has sold more than that.
Blasphemy. That is blasphemy. Hey, you can't talk about the Dreamcast that way.
I love my Dreamcast.
Hey, James
Jet
loves
Grind
his
Radio.
Dreamcast.
Oh my gosh, Crazy Taxi, Monkey Ball. I loved my Dreamcast. It was one of my favorites.
Shenmue.
Shenmue, Sonic Adventures 1 and 2.
Yeah.
I had a blast with that system. Oh, Ready to Rumble, Brant. Ready to Rumble Boxing. Ready to Rumble Boxing round 2.
Somebody better call the doctor.
Brant, we played that boxing
great.
game. Oh my gosh, we love that. But real quick on Nintendo news, to keep that rumor mill going, people keep talking about the NX, what it's going to be, what it's not going to be. A rumor came out at the very beginning of this week. I can't remember who said it. It was a tweet, I think, from the Unseen 64 guys. They heard from an inside source that said the NX will not be as powerful as the PS4. So we were talking previously about, like, if NX is coming out in the middle of a generation, you'd think they want to be at least as powerful as what's out now, or better, because they're released in the middle of a console generation. If they don't want to have a super short console life cycle again, they got to get with it and get that power up, or they're not going to have any third-party support. That could be a real issue.
That's their biggest problem. They need to have the parity with the PS4 and Xbox One. I mean, that's the whole problem with this system. I mean, you make something that's on the level of those systems, and all of a sudden you get your third-party support. You've got people wanting to buy it. Plus, you have the Nintendo franchises, which are great. See, they really have to have backwards compatibility, which I think they will for the Wii U, because that would really swing my way in getting one, because there are some really great games on the Wii U.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And Ray, I mean, what do you think about Nintendo and what they're doing? Because what they did with the Wii, they were the least powerful system, but it sold like crazy. And then with the Wii U, they tried the same thing, and it fell apart. Have they not learned from the Wii U? Are they going to make a lesser system? Do you think they're going to do that again? And if so, you think it's going to hurt them? Is this going to be a big problem for Nintendo?
What I hope for Nintendo, and mind you, I'm a Nintendo kid. I grew up playing Nintendo from, NES, Super NES. I really hope that they don't make that mistake again of what they did with the Wii U and be less powerful, or, roughly the Wii U is on pair kind of with the PS3 and Xbox 360. The only problem is the gamepad mandatory. Yeah. If they do something like that again, where they have a special peripheral or something like that, or a special input for the games, it's going to hurt them. They want to at least match PS4 and Xbox One. They do not need to come in under, because if they do that, they're already out the gate, way behind as it is. And if they continue to do that, Nintendo may not be in the console market. They may be, just handheld, and maybe, their digital, mobile, whatever their vision is for that.
Sure. And one thing they had talked about when they were asking about NX, why don't you give us more information on NX? And they came out and said, well, we don't want to talk about it yet because we're afraid the competition will steal our idea. So that makes it sound like it's going to be another kind of Wii remote or a Wii U tablet. It doesn't sound like it's going to be traditional controls. I mean, Nintendo's become more of a toy company versus a video game company, just in the sense that they make the cheaper systems that you don't play like a normal video game.
Yeah, they need that third-party support, though.
Exactly.
That's vital. They don't really necessarily need the graphical, because when you play Mario or Zelda or Metroid, you don't need that. Well, actually, Metroid would look pretty cool in current-gen graphics.
Oh, absolutely.
But, yeah, you don't need that type of power for the cartoony graphics that they have.
Yeah.
So, strictly, it needs to be on that level so that they get those third parties back in and people say, okay, this is the system I want.
Sure.
As my main console, not like a second system sort of deal that they have going on with the Wii U.
Yeah, and I think with Nintendo, now I lost my train of thought. I was listening to what you were saying.
You pulled a Brant.
I did. I pulled a Brant because I was gonna mention something, and oh geez, now I totally lost it. Ray, what do you have to say about this?
What they need to be at minimum, they need to be x86 architecture, so that way they can have it run, basically current gen. They cannot go that way of having special architecture, special, yes, Nintendo has made success with the Wii. The Wii lightning struck unexpectedly, and it happened. They counted on it again with the Wii U, and it failed miserably. We can't have them do that again. As a Nintendo, I have the special heart back to my childhood for Nintendo. They can't do that again. They can't go special IBM processors, like the Broadway or whatever it was that they use, and the other ones that they use for like the GameCube and the Wii and the Wii U. They need to go x86 architecture. They may have to go to AMD and be like, hey, we need some special stuff. We need something to kind of bring us current. We need to do that. But knowing Nintendo, they're probably going to go, hey, we're going to go proprietary. It'll still be hard to develop for, and then we're still not going to see that third-party support, unfortunately.
I remember what I was going to say. Here's the problem with what Nintendo does most of the time. Nintendo makes systems for Nintendo. They make a system that they can make awesome games for. Because really, if you look at something like Mario Kart on the Wii U, that game looks amazing. It runs at 60 frames a second. There's no lag in the game at all. Like, that game is awesome. But the problem is, they know how to optimize their games for the system they made. But it makes it super complicated for any third parties to bring anything over. So if they did the same thing like what PlayStation and Microsoft are doing, they're very similar systems, from an architectural standpoint, for like what's inside, it's pretty much like a PC now. If Nintendo did that just to make it easier for companies to port things over, especially at launch, I mean, that would actually be pretty smart. But knowing Nintendo, they probably won't do that.
They probably won't.
They have their own agenda.
Yeah. I mean, I bet if you go into Nintendo headquarters, like Willy Wonka's factory in there. You never know what's going on.
You got the fat kid trying to get into the chocolate and the girl blowing up as the blueberry.
Actually, it'd be more like kids trying to break into like the amiibo factory. They'd be like going in there trying to get all the amiibo.
Oh, Brant goes and he'll be stuffing amiibos in his shirt, and he'll have like a backpack, a duffel bag or something, stealing everything that's not chained down, and trying to make a run for it.
Oh, that's hilarious.
It's all mine.
Okay, guys, I'm gonna get us back on track here.
Okay.
Real quick to get back in the news section. Brant, I know we talked about before about collector's editions. We actually had an entire episode about collector's editions. So if you guys haven't listened to that, go back and check it out. We also know that our good friend Rob over at the WorkPret, he's a sucker for collector's editions. But they actually announced 3 major collector's editions coming out recently. They said Mirror's Edge, when it comes out, they're going to have a $200 collector's edition. What is it, you ask? Well, thanks for asking. It's going to have a steelbook case.
What is it?
It's going to have a steelbook case, some temporary tattoos, a lithograph, some concept art. But the thing that's really, why it makes it so expensive, it's going to have a 14-inch statue of Faith. And it actually comes in this really cool storage box. And what it is, it kind of looks like Faith is standing next to a mirror. And on the other side is like her younger self. So you can kind of like turn it in a certain way to make it look like she's, her older self looking at her younger self, or her younger self looking at her older self. Like, it's actually pretty cool, but $200 for that is a little much. I remember when the first Mirror's Edge came out, they actually had a collector's edition. I think it was only like $70 or $80. Like, it wasn't that much, but it actually came with her messenger bag, which I actually think would be a much better collector's edition because something I can actually use. But, The other collector's edition, because things are going to get a little bit weirder from here on out. The other collector's edition they announced, they're having one for Just Cause 3. It's going to be $110. And what it comes with, so it's a little bit cheaper, not much, but what it comes with is going to come with an art book, a map, and get this, a replica grappling hook. So that's safe for children. So, I mean,
as the kid gets one stabbed through his head and like, Mommy, what did I do?
That would be a nice $110 mistake.
Yeah.
I love the collector's editions, but my kids are the main reasons why I don't go after those, unfortunately.
Right. See, and I think some of these collector's editions come with pretty
here.
cool stuff. I just have nowhere to put it. But if you want something a little more useful in your collector's editions, the Call of Duty Black Ops 3 collector's edition is coming out, $200, so just like Mirror's Edge. This one comes with a steelbook case, because they all do, because that's the cool thing to do. It's going to come with a season pass. It's going to come with a bonus map that's called The Giant. It's going to have Perk-a-Cola coasters. And what are you going to use those coasters for? Oh, I know. How about you get a brand new Call of Duty mini fridge? So it's actually going to come with what's called the Juggernog mini fridge. Full working mini fridge. It said it holds 12 cans. So you can have your coasters and your mini fridge. And there you go. Because your kids won't destroy that.
Yeah, I want that. And you know what? I could care less about Call of Duty.
Yeah.
You know, I'd probably end up, chucking the game like a Frisbee or something. But the mini fridge alone, I want the mini fridge.
$200 for a mini fridge. No. Totally worth it.
Did you guys see the new trailer they had for the zombie mode?
No, I haven't.
Did you guys see that?
1940s film noir thing with Jeff Goldblum doing
Oh
the
my
voice?
gosh, man.
Really?
That looks...
Gotta check that out.
Yeah, that looked awesome. It had like all these stars in this game. Yeah, and then you had like a gummy ball machine that you could like take and gain like these powers.
That's crazy.
It was so out of... I mean, I was like, man, I could care less about Call of Duty, but after seeing that, I'm like, hopefully they make it just like a downloadable thing, but yeah, it got my interest piqued a little bit.
That's actually
Play
really
it for the
cool.
zombies mode?
Yeah, that's all I would play it for.
See, I haven't played Call of Duty in a long time. It actually sounds pretty cool. I have to check that trailer out, man. That sounds awesome.
Yeah, you got it. After this podcast, check it out right away. It's pretty awesome.
Sure. But, I mean, another game that we enjoy, which is about, shooting things, Hitman. They announced a new Hitman recently. And I love Hitman. Brant, I know you really enjoy Hitman. Ray, I don't know about you, but I'm assuming. Awesome. And they announced a new game that's coming out this December. But what they just came out and said, it's going to be a digital download release, and it's going to be episodic. And what they said, the actual words from Square Enix is, it will not be, the full game will not release December 8th. So the way they worded it, it makes it sound like they're releasing a game that's not finished. So I don't know if that's a good thing or not. I mean, do you guys think, the way they're wording this, do you guys think it was always planned to be episodic? Or do you think that they were working on a full Hitman game and they said, we got to get something out in time for Christmas. We don't have all the missions done. Let's just release the first few missions and then we'll give them additional missions as we finish them. I mean, Ray, what do you think? Do you think this was planned or do you think this was a last minute decision?
I think this was an oops, honestly, the way that they worded it and the way they came out with it. I think what happened was they had pressure to say, hey, we need a Hitman, or we want to release Hitman this year. And they're like, okay, well, we're going to go December 8th. Right about now, within the next 2 or 3 months, the game should be going gold. And I think what happened is they got to the point where they're like, it's broken, or we can't fix this, we can't fix that. So the only way they could do it is either A, delay it, or B, say, hey, we have this much done for you December 8th for you to play, and then the rest of it will come out as we release it. As they don't want to say it's done, but as we want to add more content and diversify the game is the way they would say it, probably.
Sure. I mean, Brant, are you afraid that this might be a scary future for games where they're so worried about hitting their release date, they start doing this whole release an unfinished game and put the rest out in episodic chunks? I mean, is this a real fear we should have?
All it means to me is that I will wait to buy this until the game is completely finished.
Sure.
that's the way to save. I'll have enough to play at the time, so I don't need to buy it right away, but just wait until all of it's out. They'll probably have a special edition and say, okay, I can dive in now.
Sure. Yeah, and they did say there could possibly be a physical release down the road. So if all the episodes come out and they're successful, maybe they'll release a physical copy. I believe this is multi-platform, right? I think it's coming out on PS4 first, but I think it's multi-platform. I think Xbox is getting this as well.
It is multi-platform.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah, it is.
So
awesome. Yeah, because like I said, I've always loved Hitman. I mean, some of my favorite memories of college were playing Hitman Blood Money on my 360 with my roommate. Like that game.
Yeah, that game was so good.
I'm not a big stealth game guy, but I've always enjoyed the Hitman games. But speaking of unfinished games and glitches, one thing we know about Bethesda, when they release games, if you get it on launch day, you're going to have some problems. Because when Skyrim came out, I remember it came out, I got it on PS3, which many might say, what an idiot. But I mean, that was the only way I had to play it because there were like major issues on the PS3 version. And that was a game where I got pretty far into it and it just got so crazy and buggy that I just never got around to finishing it. So I just put it down. I'm like, I'll wait till the patches come out. But it was so long till those patches came out, I just never got back to it. Well, Bethesda came out and they said they've learned a lot from Skyrim, like all the mistakes they made, and they're going to use that toward Fallout 4. They said the one major thing that they're focusing on is the corruption of save files, because that's one thing that a lot of Bethesda games, you have to make sure you keep 2 save files because one of them could very easily get corrupted. Real quick, just to read off their blog, what they said, I think we've gotten way better there. For us, the player save game is the number one thing. If the game crashes, that's bad. But it's nowhere near as bad as someone's save game being hosed. That's our scenario that we will do anything and everything to avoid. We made a lot of progress given how Skyrim went, but we did it during Skyrim. We are just going to build on that. So it sounds like all those mistakes they're going to try, at least the save game fix. That's one thing they're really going to try to fix now. They did say that they feel that because the game is so large and there's so many different player choices, there's so many different scenarios, there's still going to be bugs in it, which, I mean, I kind of expected. Most open world games, there are going to be bugs. I mean, there's just way too many different options and things that can happen. But I don't know about you guys. I am absolutely still picking up Fallout 4 at launch. Ray, are you like a big Fallout guy? Do you enjoy these kind of open world exploratory kind of games?
Oh yes, give me more Fallout. I want it right now. Give it to me. I don't care if it's a buggy mess, as long as it doesn't kill my save. I'm looking at you, PS3 Skyrim. I'll be happy.
No.
But yeah, it's Skyrim that hurt my heart, and to this day I still haven't gone back to it.
Exactly.
Because I had PS3.
Oh, how far were you in it?
I was probably maybe like 65, 70
Wow.
hours.
Oh,
wow.
And
jeez.
what happened was
sorry for your
I
loss.
did everything. If you recall, IGN actually had like a how to not lose your save on Skyrim. And so what I would do is I would not drop anything. I would close every door. I did everything that, and then one day just like would not read my save file. And then I had a backup save file, started playing again, killed it again. And I'm just like,
wow,
I give up.
Yeah.
I rage quit that game, and I was about to destroy my DualShock 3, and I was just like, no, I'm done. I can't do it anymore. I still haven't gone back to it.
Oh, man.
Oh, man. See, I'm more of a Fallout guy than an Elder Scrolls guy. Like, I enjoyed Oblivion, but Skyrim, like I said, I couldn't really get into. But I guess, Ray, real quick, what is your favorite Fallout game? What's your favorite one?
My favorite Fallout game, if we're looking at more contemporary,
Fallout Shelter.
3. Fallout
Okay.
3.
Fallout 3. See, I'm the only New Vegas guy here.
I don't
Outnumbered
like
again.
I
It's
don't
still a
like
great
Vegas
game.
like that.
Oh.
I mean, it was a good game, but
Yeah,
I still like Fallout 3 better.
sure. And
Yeah, I'm in the same boat.
and Brant, I think just like me, you already have Fallout 4 pre-ordered and ready to go, right?
Oh, yeah. It's in my queue. That's my game of the year. So I can't wait to, Metal Gear Solid 5 too. That has a chance, but Fallout 4 I just cannot wait for.
I'm so excited, man. I've got that pre-ordered. Well, actually, one nice thing about the Xbox version, with the Xbox version, you get Fallout 3 for free with it. Originally, the posts were saying if you got it digitally through the Xbox One itself, you got Fallout 3. But now they're saying a code will actually come with the disc copies as well. So that means when I get my disc copy of Fallout 4, I get a copy of Fallout 3 as well. Although I'm going to be so busy playing Fallout 4, I don't see myself going back to Fallout 3. At least not for a while. But I'm actually getting ready for the Xbox One backwards compatibility too, by the way, guys, because I went out the other day and I bought all the Gears games again. I was going to get Fallout 3 and New Vegas because I didn't think I was going to get Fallout 3 for free, but they didn't have it. So I still got a copy of New Vegas. What else did I get? I'm trying to think. I got like 5 or 6 games, so I'm ready for backwards compatibility. But it'll be nice to go back to those Fallout games. But
yeah, well, you'll be so busy in Fallout 4.
Right? Games for
exactly.
years.
I don't even know why you'd go back.
Well, true. But I mean, and just like Gears of War, I just want the whole series, and things like that. But yeah, with Fallout 3, and plus with the Fallout New Vegas, it cost me almost nothing. So I mean, all these old 360 games, I mean, they're used, you get them super cheap. So I got like a ton of games. It cost me like $10. Like it wasn't that much money. But actually, speaking of money, real quick, we'll hop into our budget section we call My 2 Cents. There's not much going on right now, but I jotted down a few things. Right now for PlayStation, over at Best Buy, if you buy a new DualShock 4 controller, you get a charge station with it for free. So I know it's actually kind of annoying to have to plug your controller into the system and all that and find the cables. But with the charge station, you can just, set it on there. With my Wii U, I've got a charge station for my tablet. My Xbox One, I don't have a charge station. I've got rechargeable batteries, but no actual charge station. So, I mean, if you guys, I know with the PlayStation, you don't put batteries in it, it's, just charge it. So having a charge station would probably be much more convenient, I'm assuming.
Did it say how much the charge station was originally by itself?
No, I mean,
does it say?
No,
I can look it up.
Yeah, you can look it up. I'm not sure. It was just one thing I found online was, place to find game deals this week.
Pretty good deal.
Yeah, I mean, free charge station still, not bad. Plus, also with PlayStation, don't forget the PlayStation Plus games for July are out there. Rocket League, Entwined, Styx, Mousecraft, Rain, and Geometry Wars 3. Actually, speaking of Geometry Wars 3, right now on Xbox, the Ultimate Game Sale is going on right now. What that is, it's kind of like their summer sale over the next week. And they've got over 70 different games. They're up to 60% off. I know, Brant, you got Geometry Wars 3 for free. I bought it, but it was like, I think $5 or $6. Like, it was super cheap. I also picked up Tales from the Borderlands. I think that was like $11 or $12. I mean, they've got a lot of stuff on there. They've got like Dragon Age. They've got Diablo. They've got Borderlands. I mean, there's all sorts of awesome stuff on there. They've got an Xbox One. Check out the online store. There are a lot of good deals on there right now. It's kind of hard to pass up on some of them. Because I was telling myself, I'm not going to buy anything. I'm not going to buy anything. And then I saw Tales from the Borderlands. I'm like, $12, not bad. And I'm like, hey, Geometry Wars, I can get both those for under $20. Why not?
Yeah, Geometry Wars is actually really good.
Oh, yeah, Geometry Wars is a blast. I'm having a lot of fun with that. Geometry Wars is kind of a game where, been playing a lot of Batman or whatever, sort of getting through that, and you just want to shut your brain off and just kind of chill. Put on some Geometry Wars. You can just sort of sit back and, just move your ship around and shoot.
Get that bass thumping.
Yeah, that game is awesome.
But, right now, Rocket League is that for me. Rocket League is turn off the brain and just go.
So good. Yeah.
Now, that's
James,
kind of like soccer with cars, right?
No, yeah, but it's a lot more than that.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a lot more than that. It's the successor to super acrobatic rocket-powered battle cars from the PS3. It was on
I'm
PC.
surprised you remember the whole name.
Yes,
that's very impressive.
And it has crossplay with PC, so that's actually really fun. So the Master Race people can play with us, console peasants as they call us. So.
That's actually really awesome. I mean, that kind of seems to be the popular thing to do, because I actually remember on PS3, Portal 2, it had crossplay with PC, because the Portal 2 came with a Steam copy on PlayStation 3. So people on Steam could play with PS3 people, which is actually pretty cool.
The only PS3 game to be connected to Steam.
Yeah, that's very true.
That's true.
But I was just going to say, with all this Windows 10 integration coming up, and there's going to be a lot of games on Xbox now, especially, that are going to be cross-buy and cross-play. Like things like Fable, the new Fable coming out, and that's going to be on both. And that new IP, I'm trying to remember what that was called. Was that called like Giants, or what was that called? I can't remember what that was called. They announced at E3 this year that's going to be cross-play. So even though people don't have, their friends might not have a console, they have a PC, they can still play with them, which is awesome. But
play our awesome new game, Giants.
That's right.
Yeah, it was gigantic.
Oh,
gigantic. Yeah.
Yes,
go.
I was
That
actually.
sounds more
I was
epic.
actually. Yeah, I was actually invited to the PC Alpha, but then everything got changed over to Windows 10. Also,
okay.
Lee and Becky, that are part of the Nerd Overdrive podcast, they were in on that, and one of our good friends works with Gigantic on that.
Okay.
And they do
Wow.
promotion and stuff. So, yeah, no, it's actually a very good game. I was hoping it would come to PS4, but that got dashed when it's like, hey, Windows 10 and Xbox only. It's like, oh.
Well, hey, you can play it on PC with me, man. So there you go.
Once we get you some tech, we get you some tech overhaul because it's Windows 10. So if your PC's kind of old and you got the hamster running in there, it's probably not going to run Windows 10.
I'm still on Windows 5. You know that, guys. No, I'm just kidding.
Right. I've got that little box in the bottom right of my computer screen that says "Get Windows 10 now" and reserve your copy. But I'm like, I'm not going to click it because this thing's going to die. I mean, I know Windows 10 comes out, next week, the week after. It comes out pretty soon, before the end of the month.
Yeah, it does.
But I know my PC can't handle it, so I'm like, there's no point in me even upgrading. And as long as I buy a PC, I think Windows 10 is going to be free for the first year, I think. As long as you have Windows 7 or 8.1. So, I'll probably hopefully get a PC within the next year. So, Windows 10 all the way.
yeah, your PC will be like, are you kidding?
Right. Actually, one thing I'm looking forward to on Windows 10 is being able to stream my Xbox One games on it. So, if my wife's using the TV or something, then I can still play my Xbox One games through my PC. So, that'll be nice. Because it's unlike PlayStation where you have the Vita. Because with the PlayStation, you got the Vita, you can already do that. The Wii U, you have the tablet, you can already do that. Xbox can't do it just yet. But I'm looking forward to it. But, Brant, do you know of any other gaming deals besides the ones I've announced or talked about? Because I can't think of any.
No, you covered them pretty well there.
Cool.
I've got a couple that I know about.
Okay.
If you haven't jumped on the Destiny hype train, GameStop right now has Destiny for $19.99, the base game. Of course, that doesn't include all of the expensive DLC or the expansion pass, but if you get the base game from GameStop and you go to PSN, you can get the expansion 1 and 2 for like $24 on sale right now because of the content creators. The Bungie is featured in that for PSN. Also, too, I believe it was like Newegg or something like that had PS4s with like The Last of Us, a controller, and 3 months of PlayStation Plus for $400, the $399.
Okay, that's still going on.
Also, yeah. So there's a couple other gaming deals. I follow, it's like Cheap Gamer, I think, on Twitter, and he tweets those out as they come out.
That'll probably be a lot easier than me trying to find them before the podcast. Just following that Twitter might be a little easier. Than
Ray
just sort of
saved you a lot of time just
That's
now.
Right. Follow.
But and Amazon Day is coming up, the 15th.
Oh, that's right.
So if you're an Amazon Prime member,
which
check
I
out
am,
those deals because I'm sure there's going to be some good gaming deals there.
Probably. I totally forgot about that, Brand. Thanks for reminding me.
No problem.
And Ray, thank you for the awesome Cheap Gamer tip because I'm definitely going to follow them now.
Find them on Twitter and follow them because they do. They actually do weekly updates, and then they do like midweek, or if there's like Amazon Gold deal, or if like the Newegg does their what is it, like the boiled egg or the hard boiled deals or whatever it's called on Newegg.
Okay.
Yeah, they'll tweet those out. Like they'll go through and they'll comb through all of the sales or the flyers or the online websites, and they give you updates on Sundays when like the ad deals come out, then change over for the week, and then midweek stuff as it happens, like flash sales.
Oh, okay. That's really awesome, actually. I'll definitely have to follow them then, because that would be a lot easier for me to find all the deals. I want to get ready for the show. But I get real quick before we get into the topic of the week, let's just sort of talk about what we've been playing. Brant, what have you been playing this week, man? Anything exciting?
Rocket League.
That's the only thing you've been playing, huh?
Not only, but that's pretty much taken up everything because I wrote a review for the PlayStation Enthusiast. If you want to go check that out,
Gotcha.
It's just as the name implies, it's just complete fun. Not very hard to play. It's
nice
a
recommendation.
blast. Oh,
Awesome.
yeah. All you need to do is know that you have cars. You go after the ball, try to hit it in the goal. The physics are really good. You can boost, which adds a whole nother layer. You can change your course in midair when you jump. It's it's a really good, just awesome, fun game.
Cool. And Ray, what about you, man? What have you been gaming lately?
Okay, so Fallout 3 on PC, so I picked that up. Or actually, Kyle Waite, one of my hosts on Nerd Overdrive, our game correspondent, he picked that up for me on the Steam sale.
Cool.
And then a little bit of Destiny on PS4. And then Rocket League has taken over since it came out and launched. I was playing
you guys at your Rocket
it's
League.
Addictive.
No, it's seriously fun. We had a full party going last night, and I logged in like 8:30 or 9 o'clock last night, and I didn't log out till like 12:30. We got lost in Rocket League for like 4 hours.
Wow.
It's easy to do.
And I stream gameplay and stuff like that. So if you guys follow me on Facebook or anything like that, or on Twitch, you can find my stuff there. I do gameplay streaming and stuff like that whenever we have a game or we're playing with members from the community.
Awesome. And well, real quick, what's your Twitch username so I can follow you?
Okay, so it's LRey NY617. So that's ELREY like my name, and then NY like New York. And then 617, and that's also my PSN, Xbox, and Steam gamer tag too.
Okay, awesome, cool. For myself, I'd mentioned before I picked up Tales of the Borderlands and Geometry Wars 3. I'm through the first chapter of Tales of the Borderlands. Started on the second one now. I'm on I just got through like the introduction of part 2. Of chapter 2, so it's 5 parts, like all those other episodic games. I'm really enjoying it. It's a blast. I was actually talking to Matt, my brother-in-law, about that because he picked it up too, and he asked me how it was. And I said, well, it's Telltale Games. It's Borderlands. I mean, it's really funny. It looks just like Borderlands, but I said I feel more like I'm watching just a cinematic movie, and every once in a while, hitting direction or pushing a button. Because like in previous Telltale games, like Walking Dead and stuff, you would walk around, you'd try to solve puzzles, you'd do a little bit of that. This game, like I'm loving it, don't get me wrong, I'm really enjoying it, but one thing I've noticed, it's like the entire game is just one big cutscene, which, I mean, give or take, it depends if you like that or not. I'm having a blast, I think it's fun, enjoying the story, but there's not much gameplay there. So I was kind of thrown off by that a little bit, but I'm still really enjoying it. The other thing I've been doing, actually talking about Matt, we've actually been playing a lot of Minecraft, believe it or not. We're just randomly, because I just got done my Batman review. I wrote my Batman review and over on Digital Nerd Advocates, which I mentioned before last week. And I just finished that. Like, I don't want to do anything that I have to concentrate on. I don't want to fight a bunch of stuff. And I'm like, I just want to play something chill. So I hopped into Minecraft, and then Matt ended up jumping into my game, and we did a party chat. We started talking. And now we've been playing almost all week, and we're on this quest now. We're in survival mode on the normal difficulty, and our quest is to kill the Ender Dragon. So we're like, we're starting to build armor and gather resources, and we're just having to. I mean, it's been so long since I played that game. They've changed so much. They've added so many enemies. I mean, it's just. We're having a blast playing it though, man. That's like I haven't played Minecraft in a long time, but it's a lot of fun.
It's actually really fun.
Yeah, it is. It's just one of those games where like if you play it for a long period of time, you get burned out. But like we haven't played it for like probably a year. I think it came out like last September, maybe. I think it's when it came to Xbox One, and we bought it. We played a bunch then, and then something else came out. We just kind of dropped it, and now we're just now coming back to it, and we started a whole new world. And that game is awesome. I'm actually really enjoying Minecraft again.
My son loves it.
Yeah, that actually happened with me too. Yeah.
Yep.
My oldest daughter loves Minecraft, and now my 4-year-old daughter, she's getting into it. And then when we play on survival, I'm over there like gathering and mining and getting resources. My daughter's like, "Look, Daddy, I tamed a pony." It's like, I'm trying to get armor so we can go kill the dragon guy. Like,
that's right.
Help me out here. She's like, "But Dad, I tamed some wolves and I built them a pen." And it's like, "Okay, honey, that's nice, but we got to go kill the dragon."
I made the pigs together.
Oh, dude, that's hilarious. Well, actually, my very first experience with Minecraft, I'd never played Minecraft, didn't know what it was. And Matt had his Xbox 360. He's like, "You gotta play Minecraft with me." So I'm like, "Okay, I'll play it." I'm like, "What do I do?" He's like, "Okay, build whatever you want." So I'm like, "Okay." So I got wood and, learned how to play and, turn them into planks and blah, blah, blah. And I made this little wood cabin. I was very proud of my wood cabin, the first thing I ever built. And Matt was like, hey, we got to put a fireplace in here. So I'm like, okay. So he put the fireplace in there, and it burned my whole house down.
Don't you know you have to build a fire pit?
It was so funny. He's like, let's build it. I'm like, oh my gosh. And the fun thing was, he's been playing that game forever. And so you'd think he would have known what he was doing. He knows. I still hold a grudge against that.
My beautiful log cabin. No.
I know. I've learned quite a bit since then, but yeah. Oh my gosh, that was my very first Minecraft experience. Oh man. Well, with that, guys, like we said, we're doing our summer game series, and this week we're going to talk about Final Fantasy. So with that, guys, let's hop into our topic of the week.
Dun, 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 dun. I tried, guys. I tried. Really.
That was wonderful.
Yeah.
Actually, for this week's topic of the week, I know, Brant, you are a much bigger Final Fantasy fan, so I'm going to hand the reins, my captain's hat, over to you, sir.
Oh, thank you, sir. I've been waiting to wear this captain's hat forever. Well, as you know, our summer game series next is for Final Fantasy. And guys, we could quite honestly talk all night and the rest of tomorrow about the Final Fantasy legacy, but we'll just keep it to the main games and some of the successful spin-offs. So, as you know, Final Fantasy, it paved the way for role-playing games in the West. I mean, you can see its, hold on the console and PC side of gaming. I mean, it just made role-playing games so popular in the West. And it turned Square, which was a small, struggling company, into an international powerhouse. And Final Fantasy, specifically Final Fantasy VII, it turned gaming for me from a hobby that I liked to it totally engulfed every nature of my being. In a good way, I will say.
And you had it on PC, sir, so you had the superior version.
Right. I was PC Master Race back then on my,
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, it showed text or whatever. But before then, I loved playing games like GoldenEye and Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time, Sonic, when it was actually good for the Genesis.
Right.
And then Final Fantasy VII came along, and I mean, it totally changed my appreciation for games. I mean, I put more time into Final Fantasy VII than any other game. Probably roughly 200 plus hours. And with all the dying I did, it was probably ended up being 225 hours. So, I could say I had a little obsession with that. My parents became concerned, actually.
They sent you off to a special camp.
Yeah, I had to be locked up.
A video game anonymous, right?
Yeah. It's
actually,
I almost played it religiously.
I was going to say, Final Fantasy VII, though, I actually love Final Fantasy VII. That is one of the few Final Fantasy games I played all the way through. Absolutely loved it. This year they actually had a pretty big announcement about that. But I guess, are we talking about that now? Or are we going to hold off on that?
No, we can hold off on that for now. But
Sure. Okay, sir.
But yeah, so you guys can see why I have such emotion for Final Fantasy VII Remake when it was announced. I mean, because this is probably, of all games, one of my favorite. And that's why I'm glad we get to talk about the series. And Ray, I mean, for you, where did you start? Did you play Final Fantasy VII, or where did you start with it?
I started with the very first Final Fantasy when it came over to America. And back then it was there were no character names or anything like that. It was like white mage, black mage, that kind of thing for the very first one. Basically, with that, and then it introduced, and that was along the same vein of I think it was Dragon Warrior back in the day.
Mm-hmm. And Phantasy Star.
Or as we know it, like Phantasy Star, or what did we call? They called it Dragon Warrior, and then it became Dragon Quest. But there was Warrior, Thief, Monk, Black Mage, and then stuff like that. And then Final Fantasy II was the first one that really brought the characters and everything. So I've pretty much played every Final Fantasy game of the main series at some point in my life.
Wow, that's awesome.
With those games and things like that, I didn't play the other ones until they recently came out, like the 3DS remakes or the PlayStation remakes when those came out, like to the not Virtual Console, but the PSN, as the legacy stuff.
Oh yeah, sure.
But my favorite Final Fantasy game is Final Fantasy VI. If you guys, Josh, I know you listen to Nerd Overdrive. If you've ever, I every time it's like Final Fantasy, it's like, nope, Final Fantasy VI.
I can just see you gush when you talk about Final Fantasy VI.
No, like that game was like for you what 7 did for you, 6 did that for me. It came out, 6 came out, I believe it was like fall of, I was like 10 or 11 years old when that game came out. And then that summer after that, in 95, after that, I remember I played that. I played that like crazy. I basically were like, all right, well, I want a perfect save game. And then what we would do is we would go to the library, and then my friends were playing it too. And then we would compare, like, okay, I have Locke with this power or this ability, and Sabin has this, and, Edgar has that, and I have Gao. Do you have Gao yet? And they're like, no, but I have, what was it, the one guy's name? I can't think of his name off the top of my head.
The creator?
The really weird guy. Go-Go. One of my friends is like, oh, I got Go-Go. And then I'm like, all right, well, did you, and then they're like, oh, did you get Umaro? And then they're like, no, I don't have Umaro. How do you get him? I'm like, you have to have Mog in your party. You have to go to the Narshi mines. You got to do this, that, and then he'll pop up. And then, and then the airship, and man, I love that game.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I really love that game.
And that was like the first one to like incorporate like a steampunk. Like all the ones before then had like a medieval fantasy setting, but this one took it to a whole other level. Yeah.
Yeah, it was very steampunk, very, it did have them, but it was the one that brought, like, kind of technology marred with or married it with the, kind of magic, like the Espers and the Magi, and then the, villain who wasn't really the villain, and, or he was a villain, and, that kind of thing, and just the way that it changed.
Yeah.
It also was one of the first games that incorporated the ability to choose and modify your own party. Huh. Mm-hmm. Because the other games, if you're familiar with early role-playing games, you would have your main protagonist, and then other characters would come and go, in your party. Like, oh, you would play as the knight or the mage for this long, and he's like, all right, well, I did what I had to do here. I'll catch you later. Okay. And then down the road in the story, they'll come back. Well, in this game, you could actually incorporate which characters you wanted to play in different parts of the game, and you can modify their movesets. And fighters like Sabin, where his thing was like just to beat him up using his fist, he could become a mage, because if you equipped him with like a certain Esper, to use summon magic or, different abilities, he could do Fire 2, Fire 3, whatever, or, he would learn different abilities. And so that game, oh my goodness, I could talk about Final Fantasy
But you're right,
forever.
It introduced the Espers, the summons, which was revolutionary at the time. Yeah. I mean, it had 14 characters, and I think some of them were completely optional. Is that correct? Or
yeah, some of them, unless you did certain parts of the story, you can miss parts of them. Like Shadow, the ninja. Yeah. He was a mercenary, and basically you had to pay him off, and if you didn't pay him off, he wouldn't join your party. Or if you didn't meet this one part, there was a young girl. I can't think of what her name was. It was like the girl and her Realm, I think, or Remy or something like that was her name.
I think it was
And
Remy.
then her grandfather was like a mage. And he was a magus or a magi or something like that. And he was actually like a blue mage. And so if you didn't do this part of the story right or something like that, you can completely miss them on being part of your party. Things like that. Or if you didn't, like Setzer, the guy with the airship, if you didn't have Celes in your party, who was like the Magitech Knight that kind of turned over to the rebel side, if you didn't have her like deal with him, he wouldn't join your party either, and that could set you back without having the airship and stuff like that.
Wow.
So that game actually kind of introduced elements that we see in modern role-playing right now.
Oh, that's really cool.
And I love that game. And then, if we're looking at then... Josh, Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah.
That was the game that introduced me to PlayStation. Other than, of course, like Crash Bandicoot and like the first Tomb Raider with the triangle assets, you could say, I guess. The polygonal assets,
right.
we'll go with that.
The polite way.
But that was the very first game that I sat down and I was just like, I want a PlayStation. I need a PlayStation. I need a PlayStation.
Well, I mean, originally, wasn't Final Fantasy VII going to be on the N64, but it just wasn't, because they used cartridges, they couldn't fit the game on there, or something like that, right?
Right.
Something came up in the news recently where you had what was actually going to be the Nintendo PlayStation, which was basically a disc add-on.
That's right.
To the Super NES. And what happened was Nintendo ended up saying right before CES that year, they're like, "Oh, we're scrapping yours and we're going to go with Philips."
Yeah,
and we know what happened there. And so basically Sony already having doing all the R&D and the tech and everything behind it, they said, fine, we'll release our own game system. And that's where the PlayStation was born, the Sony PlayStation. And what happened was, with that whole deal, Square got soured with the issues with Nintendo and stuff like that. As we know, Nintendo doesn't have a good relationship with third parties.
Imagine that.
Just rubbing it in. Put a little salt in the wound.
Well, if you recall,
Yeah.
I don't know how familiar you are with the restrictions that Nintendo had with cartridges and companies being able to publish so many cartridges, so many games per year back on the NES. So that's why we had, like Konami became, what was it, Ultra? And stuff like that, just so they could publish extra games. And then you had all those other, those other developers that were basically just like shadow corporations, so that way they can make more games. And then they were charging $40, $50, $60 per cartridge that they would sell to these developers for them to put their games on. And that's why cartridges were like $60, $70, $80, $100 back in the day.
Yeah.
Because of that factor, they needed to make their money back. And so with that whole relationship, Square ended up being like, okay, we're going to PlayStation. And that's where we saw 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 was MMO. And
when did it come
12,
back to 360?
And then now 13.
Because I know it was on 360.
It was 13.
It was 13.
Yeah, 13 came back.
Well, wasn't... No, 11...
11 might... Yeah,
no,
11 was for 360 too. Yeah.
Was 11 the online...
Yeah, 11 came to 360 as an MMO. That was the MMO.
Gotcha, okay.
And then 12 was just for the PS2. And then 13...
Yeah, 12 was the PS2 with Vaughn.
PS3,
yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
And then it went back to 360 eventually and everything, and then we got all those crazy spin-offs like 13 too, and then it's like, hey, Lightning Returns. It's like, no, let
even before then. I mean, we had things on. What was the GameCube or the Wii? I can't remember what it was. They had like Final Fantasy, Crystal Bearers, and things like they had all those
to
like
sort of
Crystal Chronicles.
to mend the relationship with Nintendo. They decided to do these spin-off games, for it, which was the Crystal Chronicles series. Which that's like a more Gauntlet-inspired Final Fantasy. It wasn't, your turn-based typical RPG style.
Yeah.
The Chalice Bucket, I hate that thing so much. Oh, I hate that thing so much. You're giving me bad RPG flashbacks to that. I don't want to talk about that. But one thing I definitely want to talk on Final Fantasy is Final Fantasy Tactics.
Okay.
Yes.
After 7, Tactics consume my life. I've played that game in every iteration that it ever has come out. And I want more. I'm like, come on, Square Enix, more tactics, advanced graphics, leave it grid-based, but let me do the same stuff. Let me go back to Ivalice. Let me do something in that tactics world. Let me do the job classes, which is kind of what they did with 14. They brought that same kind of feel back, but I don't want the MMO style. I want it the tactical strategy aspect.
Okay, so Final Fantasy Tactics is not like a standard RPG. It's more of like a...
It's more tactical.
It's almost like Advanced Wars or Fire Emblem or something like that. I mean, is it kind of...
Yeah, it's more grid-based,
okay.
But you do have abilities, you have job classes, you have character classes, and the ability to change. Like, you could start as, like, a soldier, and the soldier can then learn magic, and then become, like, a paladin, which is more like a magical warrior-based kind of thing, or then, he can become a mage or a cleric or something like that, to where the different abilities can mix and match. So what the tactics thing did was took the ability of like, hey, I like this ability with the soldier guy, or, where I can hit really hard, but then I want to learn some healing magic, or I want to learn support magic, or I want to learn, maybe distance attacks like an archer would have and stuff like that. And you were able to mix and match the abilities with the classes. And make basically like super powerful army of like crazy super class characters and just go in and wreck shop with crazy weapons and armor and just go nuts. And that's what I liked about that game was the customization and the ability to kind of make your own group, make your own party.
Sure. Huh.
It's really surprising that they don't just make another tactics game. Because melding Final Fantasy with Tactics Ogre, which you can get, it was a PSP game that you can get on the Vita now. I mean, it's just the perfect mesh. You mix the Final Fantasy name and all the things that are in a Final Fantasy game with tactics, and yeah, it was just a wonderful mishmash of ideas, which I definitely agree is one of the best Final Fantasy games. But yeah, going back to 6, I remember the enemy, Kefka. Man.
He was crazy. He was nuts.
One of the best enemies of all time, in my opinion. Yeah, he was just like a Joker.
His laugh would haunt me.
Yeah.
You wake up at night and sweat, just like, oh!
Yeah, and some of the scenes in that, like the opera scene, I mean, it's so perfect.
Oh, yeah. Dude. Oh, man. And then the very fun part about that, if you recall, they got a little Star Wars in our Final Fantasy. Because they had the two soldier guys, Biggs and Wedge. Do you remember them?
Yeah, yep.
When you first get introduced to Terra and she had the slave thing going, it was like, that's kind of Star Warsy, isn't it? And then you kind of because there are characters in the Star Wars universe named Biggs and Wedge, and it's funny. And then the name for Kefka is Kefka Palazzo. Palazzo basically is a play on payaso, which is Spanish, and also it's in Italian for clown.
Yeah.
And his sprite, it was just like this creepy, weird, like, I don't know if you remember if you have ever seen like the Victorian era clowns.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
With like the ruffly,
sure, yeah.
the ruffly checker and triangular like designs in print.
Well, I'm
like
gonna have nightmares tonight. Thank you.
The weird court jester thing. Yeah. So that was his, and his laugh, I will never forget. It's like this ha 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 ha.
Oh,
and
man.
every
He's
time he
mocking
pops
me.
up on the screen, you would hear it. And it's just like, man, that, and then, yeah, I'm with you. And then you had the one thing that I really, really remember, that really set that game, like, was, when, Kefka burns down Figaro Castle.
Yeah.
And then you have the chokobos, and you're on that chocobo scene. That totally reminded me also
so
of like Star Wars.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was crazy, but it was like, that's kind of Star Warsy, like. But no, that game.
Yeah,
was
about
just
everything
awesome.
about that
And-
game is just amazing, no doubt about it. And then, yeah, like you said,
And it's so.
well, it sort of bled into Final Fantasy
Go ahead.
VII too. I mean, like you could have the optional
Yeah.
characters, like that you could maybe never even see, but they wouldn't just be part of your party if you never found them. And then, I mean, Final Fantasy VII also, the cinematic presentation, like the CGI that they could do with the CD format, plus the orchestra, and I mean, well, it's been so long, I'm just going to spoil it now. But when Eris died, oh my gosh. That was just
like, what,
At
like-
least you had you almost had a spoiler warning in there.
It's like 18 or 19 year spoilers.
Yeah,
like, at this
exactly. If
point,
you
like,
haven't played
People
by
on the
now,
internet
we're
still get
good.
mad at that stuff, just so you know.
it's true. You had your chance.
Put it
to
in the
play.
show notes. Contains spoilers for Final Fantasy VII. If you haven't played Final Fantasy VII
Oh,
by
man.
now, shame on
And
you.
with Final Fantasy VII, I remember, man, that it was before like people making their own videos was big, but someone made a music video. It was Final Fantasy VII, right? Or was it? I'm trying to think.
You're thinking of Linkin Park or something.
Yeah, which Final
It was
Fantasy
Final
that?
Fantasy 9.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I just remember
Yep.
that.
which we'll get to here in a minute, guys.
Right.
Sorry
Right.
if we're gushing so much on 6 and 7, but
You're right. Those are our favorite.
Six
games.
also introduced.
That's right. Absolutely.
6 also introduced the active battle system,
Yeah.
which bled over to Final Fantasy VII, and then the future titles, and then the actual system in Final Fantasy VI was called the Desperation system, which then became the modification, or like the early like prototype of what became limit breaks, which were like those epic things.
Yeah.
In Final Fantasy VII, like Cloud's limit breaks epic. Especially during the fight with, just the epic fight with freaking.
Wait, you already spoiled other parts of the game.
I'm getting there. Sephiroth and the One Wing Angel and the music and Nobuo Uematsu's score.
Sephiroth. Oh yeah, it just sends chills down my spine. It really. That's probably. I should just put that as my favorite game of all time. Probably.
There you go.
Like I said, people don't understand. Like you say, why do you want to remake a Final Fantasy VII so much? Because or 6. I mean, but you probably shouldn't even mess with 6 because it's on a whole level of its own that you just don't want to mess with it. But 7, yeah, I could definitely. That would be so amazing. But to get back on track,
7
like
is going to be amazing.
Yeah, Final Fantasy IV actually was when the active time battle system was introduced, which you needed to make decisions quickly and capitalize on, faster speeds. And I think that was the first game too to use save points, which, at the time we take for granted now. So, but I'm just going to go back here. Final Fantasy 1 and some of these Japanese names, you probably can help me out, Ray, a little bit with this. Hironobu Sakaguchi. Yeah.
Sakaguchi, yes. Sakaguchi. The creator of Final Fantasy.
Yeah, he's in the upper echelon of video game developers. Yeah. He created Final Fantasy as we know and love today. Without him, it wouldn't be here. So thank you for that. With Final Fantasy II, Yoshitaka Amano was the legendary art designer for that. And with that game, it also had a more complex storyline. Cast of characters, like you said, they weren't just mage or black mage or whatever. They actually had names, actually put a storyline to it that was cohesive in a way. But yeah, from there, we will let's go to Final Fantasy VIII. And I don't know how you felt about this, Ray, but I still I like that game a lot, but it didn't capture that magic that 6 or 7 had for me. It looked more realistic, had more of the modern art style, and it introduced junctions, which you sort of had your summons, and they were tied to your stats. And through various powers, you could level up your character in that way. You had to draw magic from enemies, and it was affinity.
The draw points.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, which I did not care for. It really made it copious. And, you only had affinity amount of spells that you could use, too. It was an epic game. I did enjoy it, but, like I said, it just wasn't the same as Final Fantasy 6 or 7. What do you think about that game, Ray?
I mean, yeah, it was a good game. I enjoyed it overall, but it was a departure and a difference from what I was used to in my Final Fantasy. But I think what 8 was kind of the answer to the other games that we were seeing of the time, like Legend of Dragoon, and the JRPG movement that we saw come to PlayStation. So I think they felt like they maybe needed to mix it up a little bit. And kind of change it. I did not really care for the junction system very much. Yeah. It was a very different thing, and the draw points. And then one thing I do remember is the Guardian Forces were really cool that you could use.
Right.
But with the way you had to level and with the limit breaks and everything, it just made it different.
It made it time-consuming.
Different.
Because I remember when you did the summon, you had to watch the whole animation each time, and then there was a power that you got later on where you could tap I played them on PC, so you had to tap F1, and then for PS1 I guess you had to tap X to power it up, and it was like a little mini game inside the summon, which was interesting, but it just sort of didn't grow with me as
I'm with you there. The one thing that really I remember from 8 more than anything was the game Triple Triad. As Triple Triad still exists to this day in Final Fantasy XIV, which I played and I kind of stopped playing, but the triple triad, and they're actually looking at taking that out of Final Fantasy 14 here coming up. And people are actually trying to find ways to make that card game available, like through like a browser game and stuff like that. But that's the one thing that I really remember from that. Going, from 8, going to 9. 9 is the one that was like the hinge point on the modern era of the series once it went 3D for me. As the main character was good. The environments and everything's were a little bit different. The way that it kind of changed, they kind of went with, the action. I remember, what was it? Action and ability, or action and support, or action, which kind of changed from fight, magic, item, that kind of thing, the way that it played. And it was like, what was it? The stone, was it magic stones or whatever the different abilities, or how you got the abilities there.
Yeah, I didn't play much of 9. And it wasn't just because I thought it was a bad game. I just didn't have a PS1, so I could never play it until now when I got my PS3 and, the backwards compatibility, just downloading it. But that's a game I have to go back.
Did it never come to PC?
No, I think...
No,
I don't think it. Yeah,
PC,
I don't think it ever came to PC. So that's why, I couldn't play it. And that's a game that I always wanted to go back to because people have fond memories of it. And I mean, it had a more cartoonish vibe. You think of Legend of Zelda, The Wind Waker, or something that people didn't appreciate that went back to, a more cartoonish style. But and in all that, I mean, that actually holds up in some ways better than you see in Final Fantasy VII, those big triceps and biceps.
Sure.
Final Fantasy VIII trying to look realistic.
Right.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, it was a good game. It just, for me, it wasn't as memorable. I enjoyed it. So we're going to go to Final Fantasy X now, I guess?
I just want to hit on an interesting... Did you ever see the Final Fantasy Spirits Within feature movie that came out?
Yes, I
totally
did.
Forgot about that.
That was actually pretty good. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was a nice little diversion that, used the state-of-the-art technology at the time. It looked really good. I mean, it wouldn't hold up really by now, but yeah, it got a little too analytical, I think. It was really hard to follow, but it stayed in the vein of, what Final Fantasy is. So I give it
because of your tiny brain.
As you can tell here. I know. But yeah, we will go on to Final Fantasy X now. And this game, for me, I don't know how I feel about it. At the time, I really liked it, but it sort of went back.
It's hard to go back to.
I think people... No, it's not that it's hard to go back to. I just think it took away the complexity of what was before it, and it made it more linear. And like I said, I liked it at the time, but now it's really hard to go back to. It just doesn't feel like a Final Fantasy game, and 13, I think, suffers from that too.
Is Final Fantasy X the one they just remastered?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, for PS3 and now PS4 and Vita.
Okay,
yes.
That's what I thought.
Definitely. For that one, though, it was the first one to have voice acting, which I guess was pretty awesome. And the battle system, they ditched the ATB system for a conditional turn-based battle system, which it wasn't time-based, so you had a queue of people when they would attack, and it made it more strategic in that way. Like, you could just switch out your players at any time to use their abilities. And the sphere grid, that was pretty cool too. It wasn't like your typical, leveling up system. It was more in the style of Western style RPGs. So, I don't know. Ray, what did you think about Final Fantasy X?
Final Fantasy X, I really enjoyed it at the time. Like, I played a whole metric crud ton of it, like, back at that time. It's just one of those games that, for me now, I don't hold it as fond esteem as I do like 6, 7, tactics and stuff like that. It was a good game. Like, don't get me wrong. Definitely, if you haven't played it, go back and play it. Go get the remaster. They're relatively inexpensive. They're $30 or $40, I think.
Right. Yeah.
Something like that.
So definitely go back and play those. What about you, Jamie? Did you play any of the Final Fantasy X on PlayStation 2?
I mean, is Final Fantasy X, is that the one where it had like that one sports game where it's like you're inside a giant bubble? I'm trying to remember that.
Yeah, Blitzball.
That's all I remember from. They couldn't ever finish that one. That's like all I remember. That and how horrible that was.
Yeah, it really was.
Like when I think of Final Fantasy X, that's the thing that's burned into my brain.
Tomorrow, when you get a Facebook message from me and I'm like, Jamie, you gave me nightmares of all the bad parts of Final Fantasy.
Right.
You'll know what happened tonight when I went to sleep.
You gave me nightmares about those clowns, man, with the ruffles on their neck and the.
Now we're getting Blitzball. No.
But yeah, the Sphere Grid was cool because it lets you mix things, kind of like the tactics games. I think that was a thing. The one cool and fun thing was the Chocobo racing was actually fun in that game.
Oh yeah, I remember. Okay, sure.
But the achievement that you had to get for that, because I have the one for PS3, when you had to like get a 0.0 or something dodging the balls, that is such a pain. Oh my gosh.
You trophy hunter.
I really like all of the characters in Final Fantasy X except for Titus, and I will call him Titus. I am not going to call him Titus. You guys can yell at me. Find me on Twitter, LRayNY617. Send me your hate mail there. Go for it.
Don't send it to Life of Gaming. Send it to
me because that's my opinion. I did not like him and the thing with the voice acting, as awesome as it was, it made it very hard for you to play as anyone else because you always had to have him as your party leader. You didn't have the ability to mix and match your party the way you could have in other Final Fantasies and stuff like that. The other characters were actually really fun. He was ending and everything like that was kind of predictable by the time everything came about and you kind of got there and it's just like, oh, that's what it is. Okay.
Yeah, it was really
yay, so the world is saved, kind of thing.
Right.
But I mean, getting there was a grind.
Ultimate goal to save the world.
But the fun part about some of the other Final Fantasy games is at one point you kind of question what your intentions are.
Sure.
And that's what happened. That's where gaming kind of needs to kind of go to where endings are not so predictable anymore. And games that are now having morality choices and things like that are really cool. But Final Fantasy X, I liked it, but it wasn't like I love it. I think I liked it a lot more back when I originally first played it.
Got it.
I did play it again on PS3 and Vita, and it just kind of lost. And like Brant said, the achievements in that game, I'm not an achievement hunter by any means, but I do like to, kind of play a game and get the achievements as I go.
Sure.
It's definitely
I definitely agree
very
with
much
you.
pain.
Yeah, it's a hard game to go back to, no doubt.
Sure.
I want to hit on just quickly Final Fantasy X-2.
Oh,
I don't know if you played that, Ray, but with Riku and Pain. And it was really an oddball sort of game where you changed their costumes and it had like a American Idol sort of pop montage thing going.
Yeah,
it
was a
different
top thing going, and then you had Riku had her gun costume with the two pistols or whatever. And
yeah.
It was really weird. It was a cool game, and and that's what set the stage for Final Fantasy 13 and 13-2 and Lightning Returns, and that seems like that was the first iteration of that kind of thinking. And it's just like, Square Enix, you could have given us the Versus 13 5 times over had you not made those games.
Exactly. But going on, Final Fantasy 11, that was the first MMO release.
Yeah.
And did you get into that, Ray? Because I never played it, but it did pretty good.
I was going to say, for me, I kind of fell off the wagon after 10. I haven't touched a Final Fantasy game since. So the rest of the conversation, go for it.
All right.
PlayStation 2, old school, fat PlayStation 2 with the hard drive add-on, just so I could play Final Fantasy.
Oh, that's right. You had to buy the hard drive add-on. I forgot. Yeah.
Oh, wow. But I guess that works. Any special memories from it, or was it just more like
Not really. It was just kind of like generic MMO set with Final Fantasy lore and characters and stuff like that. Yeah, they had the job systems and stuff like that. That was experience, so it was kind of a little different, It did kind of take the tactics approach to leveling up and being able to change your characters in the lore. Like, I know you played tactics, so you would start off like a soldier or whatever, and then you could become the paladin, and then the paladin could either become like a cleric or a dark knight. Then you had like the mage. The mages could either be red mage, black mage, and then they could go like blue mage or summoner, the puppet master, stuff like that. And you had the thief, which would be like the dragoon, which actually that kind of system actually lends itself and kind of got incorporated into Final Fantasy 14, and the way they kind of it evolved from that. But then you got to play as the different races and stuff like that, which all kind of change within that, which actually they carried over to Final Fantasy 14 as well. So that was kind of like the stepping stone, the first like delving into the MMO world. And then as far as I know, I think it's still running to a point on, I don't know if it's still PC or if it was like still running on 360 or whatever, but I know it's still playing. They're still playing it. So, that's what I have to say about Final Fantasy 11.
They still keep a dedicated server for it, I think, which is pretty amazing. I mean, it's lasting, considering like World of Warcraft, To stay on the MMO bandwagon, I guess Final Fantasy 14, I haven't played this either, but I don't know if you got it when it launched and it was a broken mess. And then it was
bad.
Yeah, they at least had some redemption with The Realm Reborn, which from what I can tell and listening to other podcasts, it seems that people that play this really love it. So, what's your experience with Final Fantasy 14?
Final Fantasy 14 I enjoy a lot. I have a lot of fun. Shout out to my friends Adam, aka Fallen, and Joey, who are hardcore Final Fantasy 14 players. Like, they'll... like lately, I'm a stay-at-home dad, so lately I'll pop on PSN if the kids are napping or if they're busy doing something or whatever, if I just want to pop in. And it's like clockwork. They're on like 10 o'clock every morning, and it's like, oh, I got to run my roulettes, and I have to do this, and I have to go run Syracuse Tower, and I have to do that, and I'm going to go chocobo race and breed my chocobo so I can get the ultimate chocobo, and then I got to collect these to dye this, and and so they're hardcore into it. And I played it at launch, and I was just like, no more. This is broken. No more. Square Enix, you're not getting any more of my money. Yeah. And then it came out, and then I was part of the alpha for The Realm Reborn when it came to PS3, and then the beta, and then I started playing it on PS3 when it came out, and then I let go of it. I was just like, there's other games to play.
Yeah.
And then I picked it back up again when it came to PS4. And then I started playing a little bit, I played for a couple months there, started leveling up again, all my friends, and we started a free company and all this. And then it's just like, there's other games to play. I don't want to feel obligated to play this one game all the time, even though I have like 650 hours plus hours on Destiny right now. That's a topic for a different time.
On the Destiny podcast.
But with 14, it's definitely a good game. If it has a lot of content, and then with the Heaven's Ward expansion that just came out, very positive things, very nice add-ons there, lots of content, lots more playable things. They're still releasing things within that Heaven's Ward, and the release of that was a big deal here recently.
Yes.
So definitely, if you're into the MMO and you like Final Fantasy and you want to give them $15 a month plus the add-on, wait for a sale. Usually you can find it $20-$30 for the base game, and just hop on the train and get going. And there's enough content there to keep you busy for a long time.
Right. Yeah. And I can't get behind the pay monthly fee, so that's why I would never dive into it. But I hear good things about it, so maybe if it ever goes free to play, I don't know, but we'll find out about that. But next I want to get to Final Fantasy 12, because this is probably...
You went from 14 to 12.
Well, I was keeping with the MMOs.
No, I'm just kidding.
The MMO theme, so yeah. So...
And I love Final Fantasy 12. I really want them to release it as a PS2 classic, or at least a remaster, because I would totally play that game again. I like the political background it had. The combat system was more active, like an MMO, but what really made that combat system awesome was the gambit system in place. Like, you could issue very specific commands, like tell one character, use a certain type of item with this enemy, or use a healing spell when the health drops below like 20%. And it was just very customizable, and I really like the characters. Yeah, it's right after Final Fantasy 7 and 6 that I'd say this is probably one of the best Final Fantasy games, and Tactics, of course. But
yeah,
Ray,
I'm with you there. I'm with you there. I really enjoyed 12 a lot. The big thing that I remember from that game was the battle chain and being able to kind of increase, the different battles, and, if you lose to certain enemies or if you continuously kill certain enemies, like they start to drop rare and multiple items, higher level things and buffs for the party, stuff like that. And then that game had because it was more interactive on the actual, like, I don't know if you want to call it like the world or the exploration space or whatever, the traps. Do you remember those?
Traps.
The traps
I can't
in that game.
It's been so long since I've played it.
Like you would go and you would step on something, and then there would be a trap, like a mine or something like that, and it could damage you. Or some traps would like poison you, or some of them would like cause like paralysis or sleep or whatever. And then certain characters, they could learn abilities, or you could get like certain accessories or whatever that would combat those. Or you would even have stuff like if you had a certain like ability where if a trap set off, instead of damaging you, it would give you like a buff or health back or whatever the case was. One thing I really, really remember about that game too was the fact that there was a lot of weather changing. Like the weather would change as you were traveling through different areas and going through different parts of the map. And then also too, like you said, that was part of the Ivalice part of the Final Fantasy lore. And I love the world of Ivalice. Going back to Tactics and everything, that's where that was set. And then you also have the we'll probably talk spin-offs here in a minute, but the War of the Lions one for PSP was also set in Ivalice. That kind of thing. But the characters in that game were very interesting. Very, very cliche, though, to a point, because you had the one guy from the streets and his best friend, and then they meet this other guy, and then they set out on this quest accidentally, and they're just like, hey, we want to do this, and we need to do
We're
this.
We're in the middle of this whole conflict.
They got thrown into it, and they're like, hey, we just got to kick butt, take names, and make everything happen, save the world. And that's basically the story of it, and it's just funny because it's just very cliche, but it was very enjoyable. But like you said, this one kind of did take the more updated approach as far as the battle system, but it was also very linear. Like you basically had your path laid out in front of you, and you kind of had to go. Speaking of linear, we'll talk some more here in a minute. As you know where I'm going with that, but I'll let you go ahead and lead it. But I enjoyed the game. That's more memorable for me than probably 8 or 9. And I do remember it a little bit more fondly than 10.
Yeah, definitely. I like I said, I would love a remaster, and it was an awesome game. But to move on, and I am not too thrilled to talk about this. Final Fantasy 13 came along, starring Lightning. She was sort of the gruff. I mean, I don't have a problem with her. It's the game that I have a problem with. I was hyped for this game, and I read a review before it came out by Game Informer, Joe Jubo, who I don't appreciate reviews for anymore because he led me to buy this game as it came out. But it took everything that was great about Final Fantasy and I think just laid it by the wayside to appeal to more gamers. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, but there's, a time and a place for that. And all I can remember, people say, yeah, it's linear, and it opens up 15 hours after you've been playing it, which that's true, but the combat system, I don't care what anybody says, I could not get behind that combat system, paradigm shifting. It seemed more like you were playing a movie, and I gave this game as much time to succeed as possible. Like, I got to the open world part, and when you get to the open world part, I was fighting some enemies, and it was just strenuous because you would debuff an enemy, then you'd hit him with a physical attack, then a magical attack, then his other buddy would heal him, and it just was like this endless cycle, and I was like, okay, to me this combat system is broken. I'm done. And that's probably the most disappointed I've ever been in a video game release that I was hyped for.
Now, isn't Final Fantasy 13 on that? I mean, I don't know if it was in the past as well, but when it was more of a real-time combat versus turn-based.
Yeah, well, like I said, Final Fantasy 12 before then took a more real-time approach.
Got it.
But did it in a way that was not like you're controlling a movie.
Sure.
Because you could just queue up actions, and I guess it did give you option to have more control, which I tried to do, but it didn't really feel rewarding at all.
Okay.
The characters did not mesh well. The world, it got too, too ambiguous. I couldn't follow the story, even though it was linear. It was just a mess for me on so many different levels. I know not everybody shares that sentiment, but when we're talking about Final Fantasy, we're talking about some of the best games of all time, and I just felt like this title should not have had a Final Fantasy name attached to it. Quite frankly.
And that's why they made two of them.
Exactly, yeah, because it's jeez.
Yeah, what killed me about this game was it was not as flowing as Final Fantasy 12. Because all the reviews, like you said, kind of said, "Oh, well, it's just like Final Fantasy 12." No, it's not. Like the combat system, I think it was like the Synergy or whatever it was called.
Synergy,
yeah. And then you had the cost of the whatever, the command or whatever, and it was just like the different stances, and then you couldn't change one stance for one character. You had to do it for the whole party, and then the other bad thing is, like, in your RPGs, like your like healer would be able to, do damage, the DPS as we call it in the RPG terms. They'd be able to DPS, be damage dealers, but also heal the party as needed, which you saw a lot of in Final Fantasy 12. But then because of the dumb paradigm shift in Final Fantasy 13, your healer could only heal and do nothing else. The only way they could change it is if you had to change the entire job class or the shift for everybody, and then it's just like, well, I want lightning with this and snow with that and this, that, and shout out to Nolan North, one of my favorite voice actors. He did the voice of Snow.
I didn't know that. Well, that's a positive. And it looked beautiful too. But
yeah, but no, I really liked it. It was just one of those things that really hurt my soul though, because of the way that the game kind of went, and it was just basically a corridor, and you had to give it 15 or 20 hours depending on how you played in order for the game to open up. And even then, when it opened up, it didn't truly ever open up. It was just one of those things, and it just kind of killed that for me. And it was just one of those things that is just it was a good game, but it just wasn't. It shouldn't have been Final Fantasy. It should have been something else.
I totally agree with you.
Give it maybe a different name, or make it like a spin-off, but not a true Final Fantasy canon, if you will. That's not canon, to me. I didn't enjoy it.
At least you said it's a good game, because I don't even give it that. So
I mean, for what it tried to do, and then I played it to completion. I trudged through it 69 and a half or 70 hours through it.
Impressive.
And it killed it. And then one thing to talk about, the one going back to 12 real quick. Did you play the spin-off for 12 that came to?
No, I never. I probably could now. It's probably a downloadable game that you can get on the Vita. So maybe I should. Yeah, maybe I should go download that. Is it worth playing?
Yeah, it's definitely worth playing if you enjoyed 12.
Which I did. So.
But 13-2, I gave up. I played it. I gave up.
Yeah, I was the same way. I was like, okay, this combat system, no.
And then from there, I went through, and then somehow, some way, something happened, and I ended up finding out about what happened in 13.2. I think my brother told me. And then, so I was just like, okay. And actually, it wasn't Nolan North. I think it was Troy Baker that did Snow, actually. I get those two because they do so many games. I kind of throw them together sometimes.
Amazing. Yeah, they could sound the same.
Easy mistake.
Yeah, no, but yeah, with 13.2 I gave up, and then with Lightning Returns I started playing it, and it's just like, nope, I want no more of this. I just can't do anymore. I gave Square Enix 70 hours of my life that I can't get back, and I couldn't go anymore.
Enough is enough. Period. At least you gave it more of a chance than I did.
There you go.
I did.
Yeah, I just want to touch on Kingdom Hearts because that has a big influence with Final Fantasy.
Yes,
I don't know where you guys stand with this, James, since you've been out of the
Sure.
talking for a while. What do you think about Kingdom Hearts?
I mean, I love Kingdom Hearts. I actually bought a PS2 for Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah.
So I mean, I really enjoy that
did.
series. Although I didn't play all of them because I mean they had some for PSP and some for DS and some for mobile and like they were all over the place. But I mean, if I still had a PlayStation 3, maybe I'd go back and get the remasters they came out with. But the weird thing is, I know Kingdom Hearts 3 is supposed to come to Xbox One as well as PS4, which is kind of strange. Because I'd like to be able to play them all on my Xbox if possible, but we'll see. It'd be nice if they brought those remasters to Xbox.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll see. But I actually really enjoy that series.
Cool. How about you, Ray?
I really enjoy the Kingdom Hearts games. So Jamie, did you flip your wig when you saw the Kingdom Hearts at E3 this year?
Yeah, I mean,
did you lose it?
I'm excited for it, but I mean, I think because it's been so long, I've kind of got tired of waiting. You know what I mean? Like, it's one of the series where if they would have brought it out sooner, I probably would have been super hyped for it. But now there's so much coming out, and it's been so long since, like, a main Kingdom Hearts game. I'm like, I know I'll be excited when it comes. I just got to wait for it to get here.
Yeah, that's one of the crazy things about Kingdom Hearts. Like, I was excited for it, but I saw it, I'm like, this doesn't look as good as it did before.
Yeah, because they actually changed the whole
it.
engine. I mean, they rewrote it in a whole new engine.
Because remember when they first unveiled it last year, it was just like, oh, that looks awesome, and then now it's just like, yeah, the graphics look like PS3, you know,
right.
And, you know, they'll touch it up for PS4, and it'll come out looking fantastic, but it just that kind of hype I got lost this year for me
I agree
on Kingdom Hearts.
Absolutely, but we'll see. I mean, like I said, the Kingdom Hearts game's always been good, so hopefully they'll pull it out of their hat. I hope. We'll see.
Yeah, playing those recently for the PS3 on the remasters. I remember having fond memories of both games, but playing them again, it just didn't hold up for me. I didn't like how the combat was. It didn't respawn the way I wanted it to. And the graphics and music are amazing, but the storyline is so convoluted.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
almost
it's so
just
hard to
hysterical. I was just laughing because it was like, play this scene, then cutscene, play this scene, cutscene.
Yeah.
And it just kept going on. And it just didn't need that. I just want to play a game where I can dive into, Disney properties and just have fun. And they threw all this other stuff with Nobodies and Heartless.
Well, that's what Disney Infinity is for. Jump into Disney World and have a bunch of fun.
Yeah, I guess so. But I want that in Kingdom Hearts. But
right.
Final Fantasy 15 is on the horizon, guys. Quickly, what do you want to see out of Final Fantasy 7? I mean, Final Fantasy 7.
You've got that in your head, man. It's in your mind.
I
you
love
can't get
that
rid
game.
of it.
Final Fantasy 15, what would you like to see, Ray?
I want to see them go back to the heyday of Square Enix and what Final Fantasy stands for. Give us, updated battle systems if they need to, make it seamless combat, bring the characters more into it, not so dry, boring, and kind of cliche. Give us freedom, which if looking at the demo for it and everything like that came with Type 0, it looks like they're listening to that part. I don't know how well the boy band-ish thing is going to work out.
Always wanted to play as a boy
we'll
band,
see.
right?
Right.
But I really hope they change that one voice actor. Oh my goodness. Please do it.
Yeah, that is so terrible.
Please do
it is really bad.
Just change it. But I want to see them incorporate the lore a little more, because I feel like Final Fantasy 13 was so much about lightning that it didn't bring the lore into it, and the background and the world kind of got lost in translation with that. So I really hope they bring the environment, the like experience, just what you feel, what you see, like bring that back to Final Fantasy, and I think they'll have an explosive hit on their hands. You know, Final Fantasy, a little tidbit, holds 8 world records for video gaming different things as of I think 2014 or something like that. They've sold over 100 and I think like 80 million copies or something of their game series or something like that.
Wow.
So, I mean, it's a very good, popular series, like, considering the install bases of the systems that they were on and how, you know, that kind of thing. They have the ability to bring Final Fantasy back and kind of bring gaming back to the JRPG. Because right now we are very Western RPG heavy, kind of going with things like Witcher recently that came out, and you know, you have the other up-and-coming action RPGs kind of challenging them with, like, Dark Souls and Bloodborne and things like that. You know, they need something to bring it back, because I definitely want to see RPGs come back that way.
Sure. I mean, I was going to say, I agree. I'd like to see them go back to, you know, what made Final Fantasy strong, because I kind of, like I said, fell off after 10. I just kind of, you know, fell off from the series. And I've moved on to other RPGs, to other games, like things like Xenoblade Chronicles, and like I mentioned earlier, Xenoblade Chronicles X coming out. Like, I'm really looking forward to that. And then right now, 15 is not even on my radar. I mean, they're going to have to do something special to pull me back in.
Yeah, I agree with what you guys say. 13 really left a sour taste in my mouth, and I don't really care to play MMOs, so, I mean, from what I've seen so far, it looks okay, I guess. I like the open world aspect, but the characters don't really...
Graphically it looks pretty.
Oh, it's beautiful. I mean, yeah, but I don't know. We'll see. It's coming out. It says 2016, but I think that's a little optimistic. Sure. So who knows? But James, I guess that's it for this section. So
okay,
sign us out. I will hand my captain hat back to you.
Thank you. Let me put that on here. Hold on. Okay,
one more thing before you hand the hat over.
Sure. Go ahead, sir.
Final Fantasy VII Advent Children. We glanced over that completely.
Oh yeah, I totally forgot.
How could I do that? That was a good movie. Well, that was a game. I'm thinking of
No, that was the movie.
That was the movie.
And then you had that was the movie.
Crisis
and then you had
Core.
Crisis Core, and then Dirge of the Cerberus.
I never played those games, but.
Shame.
Yeah, maybe I
shame.
could.
And also Fantasy VII fan.
Yeah, that's true.
For shame, sir.
And Dissidia.
Go stand in the corner.
I never played those too. Either. I enjoyed those.
It was, yeah.
Those are
it sort of looked like a Super Smash Brothers, if you will, of Final Fantasy in a 3D plane, which I have it downloaded on my Vita. I just never played it, so maybe I should check it out.
Have you ever heard of Ergies or Ergies, the fighting game that had Cloud in it?
Yep.
That was another weird random spin-off thing that happened. Yeah, but
had to get that Final Fantasy 7 fixed.
Yeah.
Get that last little bit in, but oh Captain, my Captain, and that's funny because what they call me now is they call me El Capitan, which is Spanish for the captain. So
El Capitan.
That's hilarious. Well, I mean, Ray, thanks for coming on here and talking Final Fantasy with us. Hopefully you enjoyed being on the show.
Oh, definitely. I had a great time.
You haven't regretted your choice?
No, not at all.
Until you wake up in the night screaming, you know, but until then...
And I send you a message tomorrow, and I also copy Brant on it, and I'm like, hey, I had nightmares about Blitzball.
Right. Well, real quick, Ray, just remind people, you know, where can they find you online? Twitter and Twitch and places like that.
Okay, so my Twitter and my Twitch are the same. So it's LRayNY617, and it's ELREYNY617 for those, you know, and also PlayStation, Xbox Live, and Steam. You can find my community on Facebook, which is Phoenix Overdrive Nation. You can find us facebook.com/groups/Phoenix Overdrive Nation, which is actually one of the places that I tied in with Brant, and, you know, he invited me on the show. You can also find my Extra Life team, which we do charity fundraising for Children's Miracle Network hospitals through Extra Life at facebook.com/Extra Life.
Awesome.
And then you can search for us, Phoenix Overdrive, on YouTube, SoundCloud, and iTunes for the Nerd Overdrive podcast. Also, riseaboveradio.wordpress.com is the Rise Above Radio blog that I do. It actually just launched this past Wednesday. Meant to be more of like an inspirational, motivational kind of thing with a little gaming flavor twist to it. As you know, Brant kind of knows, I've gone through a lot in my life the last couple years or so, and just have a positive outlook and just the support of the community that we started and everything like that definitely meant the world to me, and being able to share my passions and my love with everybody definitely makes a difference. So, thank you again, guys, for having me on the show. And thank you, Brant, for being there in my corner, man, through a lot of my difficulties I've had lately. I definitely appreciate it.
No problem. I urge you all to check out that Rise Above because, yeah, it's really good stuff. Just positivity. Good thing to always keep on mind. And Ray, you do an awesome job with all the podcasts, the messages. Just everyone check that out. It's good stuff.
Awesome. And Ray, thank you again for coming on the show, man. We're really happy to have you, man. So once again, thanks for coming on the show. With the Life of Gaming stuff, you can find us on Facebook, on Twitter, at Life of Gaming Pod. Make sure to subscribe to us on iTunes, in the Microsoft MP3 store. You can also find us on SoundCloud. And we are on YouTube, so make sure to follow us on YouTube as well. We post a podcast there as well as, some Let's Plays and things like that. You guys know you can find me on Twitter at JamesPlus12. And I am on Twitch at Jamester0722. And Brant, where can people find you?
I'm on Twitch at _the_Brant. You can find me _the_Brant on the PSN. Josh Brant, look me up on Facebook. I'm always willing to talk about anything, games especially, so awesome.
Awesome. Well, you guys know, this has been another awesome episode of our Summer Game Series. We have many more weeks to go. I guess to give you a slight taste of what we're doing our next episode.
Whet your appetite, if you will.
Bum, 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 bum. Do you know what that is,
Nice. Brett? I have no clue.
Star Fox.
Oh, okay.
So that's coming up. We also have some other awesome games coming up soon. So make sure to check it out and subscribe and follow us on all these places. And make sure to check out Ray and all the awesome things he's doing. Guys, until next time, we are out.
Bye.
Bye, guys. Rise above.